Chapter 1: The First Night in the Fog. The helicopter came in low, blades chopping the fog until it turned to rain. Liam Macrae ducked instinctively, his duffel pressed tight against his ribs. The wind off the rotors carried the smell of burning fuel and pine sap. He couldn't see much, just the faint glow of floodlights through sheets of mist and the dark outline of a man waiting beside a rusted Land Rover. The pilot didn't speak. He simply pointed at the ground with two fingers, out, and throttled the engine until the noise became unbearable. Liam jumped. His boots hit the frozen grass with a dull thud. The blades kicked up a cloud of ash-grey dust, and then the helicopter lifted, turned without a word, and vanished into the clouds. No markings, no insignia. Just a shadow swallowed by the highland mist. When the echo died, the silence was almost holy. He could hear water somewhere, a stream under the peat, whispering. "See me then," the man by the Land Rover called. His voice was deep, cracked by smoke and age. Liam walked toward him, the duffel strap biting into his shoulder. The man stepped forward into the light. He was older than Liam expected, late 50s, maybe, his face carved with weather lines and the kind of wear that only came from war. A heavy parka hung from his shoulders, and where his left leg should have been, a dull steel prosthetic glinted faintly under the lamp. "Hamish Drummond," he said, offering a hand. "Most just call me Hammy." Liam took it. The grip was strong, calloused. Liam Macrae. Hammy's eyes narrowed at the name. "A Macrae, eh? That explains the face." "Meaning what?" "Meaning trouble tends to run in your blood, lad." He said it like he already knew the story. 5 years in Barley for armed robbery, no casualties, paroled for good behavior. The wardens of the Vale didn't recruit saints, Liam guessed. They recruited the disposable. Hammy gestured toward the horizon, or what passed for it. "That way's the red line. You'll see it when the fog thins. If it ever does." Liam frowned. "The red line?" "The boundary," Hammy said. "Beyond it's what we don't talk about." He reached into his coat and handed Liam a small handheld radio, old, military issue, its casing scarred. "You'll hear things on this. Static mostly. Sometimes voices. Don't answer." Liam turned it over in his hand. "Why not?" "'Cause the one speaking won't be alive." Hammy's tone left no room for argument. "You've got 3 rules, lad. Burn them into your skull." He raised a finger for each. 1. Don't cross the red line. 2. Don't trust the radio. 3. If you hear the Gaelic windbag play, run and don't look back. Liam smirked. "The Gaelic what?" "Windbag. Bagpipes. You'll know it when you hear it." Hammy turned away, metal leg creaking as he walked toward the rover. "Come on then. The bot-hand won't wait forever." The drive took an hour. The fog thickened until the headlights were useless, their beams swallowed by grey. Pines loomed on either side of the track like black teeth. Somewhere high above, a stag bellowed, long, low, almost human. Liam tried to ask about the wardens of the Vale, about what exactly they were guarding, but Hammy said nothing. Only the rhythmic click of his prosthetic against the pedal filled the silence. Eventually the road ended in a clearing. Beyond it, a squat structure crouched beneath the trees, stone walls blackened by age, a roof patched with corrugated metal. On one wall, someone had painted in red letters, half faded by rain, Bothan DUBH. "The Black Bothy," Hammy said as he killed the engine. "Built in 43 for the radar boys. Abandoned after they saw what the radar picked up." Liam stared. "And now?" "Now it's home." Inside smelled of peat smoke and disinfectant. 2 bunks. A potbelly stove. A generator that hummed somewhere below the floor. On the wall hung a corkboard cluttered with Polaroids, blurry shapes in mist, claw marks on trees, a deer carcass split perfectly down the middle. At the center of the board was a single word, underlined in red ink, Watcher. Hammy caught Liam looking. That's what you're here for. I thought I was here for probationary field work. Same thing, if you survive it. He handed Liam a thermos of something hot and foul-smelling. Drink up. First night's the test. Test of what? Whether you stay. By midnight the fog had thickened into a wall. The generator coughed, flickered, and then settled into a low drone. Hammy sat by the stove, cleaning a rifle older than both of them combined. Liam checked the thermal camera, the kind used by wildlife researchers. It whined faintly as it powered up, screen blooming with ghostly green. Here, Hammy said, tossing him a tablet connected to a tripod-mounted camera outside. You're on night watch till 4. If the temperature drops more than 5 degrees in under a minute, wake me. Why? 'Cause that means it's looking. Liam frowned. It? Hammy didn't answer. So Liam watched. The feed showed only static at first, fog, trees, the faint shimmer of moisture. Time crawled. He counted his own heartbeat to stay awake. 1:17 a.m., nothing. 1:38, a fox darted past, its heat signature bright against the cold. 2:04, the mist began to move strangely, swirling against the wind. He leaned closer. A shape emerged, tall, motionless, standing between the pines. At first he thought it was a tree trunk, but the lines were wrong. Too symmetrical. Too deliberate. He zoomed in. The figure stood nearly 3 meters high, featureless, its surface smooth and pale like stretched wax. No face. No eyes. Just an absence where a head should be. The temperature reading dropped 4 degrees, then 6. Liam's breath fogged the screen. Hammy, he whispered. You should see this. The older man didn't move. How long's it been standing? 40 minutes, maybe more. Has it moved? No. Then it's not hunting. Liam glanced back at the monitor. The figure hadn't moved. But the trees around it had shifted subtly, like the forest itself was inching away. What the hell is it? Hammy rose slowly, metal leg scraping the floor. The locals call it an fairish falam. The Hollow Watcher. Liam almost laughed. That's poetic. It's older than poetry. Hammy picked up the rifle. It doesn't eat. Doesn't sleep. Just chooses. Chooses what? Hammy met his eyes. Who stays? The camera beeped, motion detected. Liam looked back at the screen just as the figure began to turn. Not its body, just the head, rotating a full 180 degrees without bending the neck. The motion was smooth, impossible. Liam froze. The faceless head faced the camera now. The temperature dropped another 5 degrees. The feed flickered. A whisper came through the speakers, a low, wet sound like breath underwater. Hammy moved faster than a man his age should. He crossed the room, grabbed the camera monitor, and slammed it against the wall. The screen shattered in a burst of static. What the, hey? Liam shouted. That was our only. Better broken than seen. Hammy's voice was low, trembling with anger or fear, Liam couldn't tell which. You don't stare back at it, lad. You never stare back. Outside, something creaked in the fog. Not wind. Not wood. The sound of something vast shifting its weight. Hammy killed the lights. The stove dimmed to a single ember. The two men sat in the dark, listening. From somewhere beyond the trees came a voice, not human, not machine. It spoke in Gaelic, words stretched and hollow, carried on the wind. Liam swallowed hard. That, the bagpipes you mentioned? Hammy didn't answer. He was already loading a round into the rifle. Outside, the voice called again, closer now, repeating the same 3 words. Liam didn't understand them. But his bones did. When Liam woke, the fog was still there. It hadn't moved an inch. He didn't remember falling asleep. 1 minute, he'd been staring into the darkness, the next, Hammy was shaking his shoulder, whispering, "Sun's up." Except there was no sun, just a flat, grey light bleeding through the mist like milk through dirty water. The bothan smelled of damp wool and burned peat. The air inside was heavy, still trembling with whatever they'd heard last night. The smashed camera lay in a corner, its screen spiderwebbed with cracks. Liam rubbed the sleep from his eyes. "Did you see it move?" No. Hammy poured coffee that looked like it had been brewed out of tar. "Didn't need to. It moved us." Liam frowned. "What's that supposed to mean?" "Means the forest doesn't breathe the same after it's been here." Hammy handed him the cup. "Drink. You'll feel it soon enough." The first sip burned like acid. "What's in this?" "Whiskey. Coffee. Faith." Liam took another sip anyway. His hands were shaking. Hammy crouched beside the broken monitor, pulling the memory card from the side. "We are lucky the recorder's separate," he muttered. "Might still have something on here." He inserted the card into a battered laptop on the table. The machine whirred like an animal waking from hibernation. Static filled the screen, white, black, and ash-grey stripes that pulsed with faint interference. Hammy hit a few keys, skipping past corrupted frames until the image stabilized. The forest reappeared, washed in thermal green. The Watcher still stood there, exactly as Liam remembered, tall, still, too perfect to belong in nature. Hammy paused the frame, zoomed in. "Look here." Liam leaned closer. Around the Watcher's feet, the moss had turned black, radiating in circular patterns like burn marks. And yet, no fire had touched it. "Temperature reading?" Liam asked. -28. Hammy exhaled, whistling softly. "Coldest it's ever dropped. Cold enough to kill a stag in minutes." Liam's breath caught in his throat. "Then why didn't we?" "Because it wasn't here for us." Hammy ejected the card and pocketed it. "We weren't chosen." "Chosen." The word stuck like a thorn. By noon, they'd gone out to inspect the clearing. The fog pressed low, thick enough that sound seemed to move wrong, too slow, too muffled. The world beyond a dozen yards simply didn't exist. Hammy limped ahead with a rifle slung over his shoulder, the metal leg sinking slightly into the peat. Every step left a dark print that filled instantly with water. "Keep your head down," he muttered. "Don't look long at anything that looks back." They reached the tree line where the Watcher had stood. The ground was frozen solid, ringed with a perfect circle of ash. The trees themselves had withered at the tips, needles curled inward like fists. Liam crouched, brushing the edge of the circle with his glove. The soil was dry, unnaturally so. "What does this mean?" he asked. Hammy spat into the fog. "It means it left its mark. Every time it visits, it redraws the boundary." "The red line?" "It moves." Liam looked up sharply. "Moves? You said not to cross it. How the hell am I supposed to avoid it if it moves?" Hammy didn't answer. He was staring into the mist, jaw tight. "Something wrong?" "Listen," the older man said. Liam held his breath. At first he heard nothing, just the faint whisper of wind through the pines. Then, beneath it, a different sound. A rhythm. Tap. Pause. Tap tap. Like knuckles on wood. Could be a branch, Liam said, though even he didn't believe it. Hammy raised a finger to his lips. The tapping stopped. Then the forest sighed. Every tree around them bent slightly inward, branches trembling though no wind touched them. The fog thickened into shapes, suggestions of movement just beyond visibility. Hammy whispered, back to the bothan. Now. They moved quickly but quietly. The forest seemed to breathe with them, inhale, exhale, step, heartbeat. The further they went, the more the sound faded, until they reached the clearing again. When they turned, the forest was still. But on the ground, something new had appeared, prints. Not boot marks. Barefoot. Large. Wrong. Each one facing backward. Inside, Hammy bolted the door, then lit a cigarette with trembling fingers. Liam sat on the bunk, staring at the prints on the screen of the laptop. He'd managed to photograph them before they left the site. They're human, he said finally. Just, reversed. Hammy nodded. It's how they move. They walk backwards so they never leave. They? There's more than one? Hammy took a long drag before answering. The Watcher's never alone. It brings echoes. Echoes of what? Us. Hammy's eyes flicked toward the darkened window. People it's marked. People it remembers. A soft crackling interrupted him. The radio on the table, silent since last night, suddenly hissed to life. Static rolled like thunder through the small room. Liam turned to look. The dial wasn't even powered. Then a voice came through, low and wet, like someone speaking underwater. Lee. He froze. The voice was faint, distorted, but he knew it. Knew it the way one recognizes their own reflection. It was his. Hammy, Liam whispered. That's me. The older man snatched the radio off the table and hurled it into the stove. Flames burst for a second, then died, leaving only the smell of melted plastic. What the hell are you doing? Liam shouted. Rule 2, Hammy said flatly. Don't trust the radio. But that was... not you. Not anymore. Liam stood, anger cutting through the fear. You keep saying rules and lines and choices, but you haven't told me what we are actually doing here. What are the wardens even for? Hammy looked at him for a long moment. When he finally spoke, his voice was quieter, older. We keep the veil shut. The veil between what and what? Hammy gave a short, humorless laugh. Between what's ours, and what remembers it used to be. He leaned forward, eyes sharp. The Hollow Watcher's not a monster, lad. It's a remnant. A thing that stayed behind when the rest moved on. The Wardens were made to watch the Watchers. That's insane. Hammy said. And true. He went to the window, peeled back a strip of duct tape covering the frame, and peered into the fog. It's still there. Liam joined him. How do you know? Because the forest hasn't moved back yet. By nightfall, the fog had deepened into a darkness that glowed. The Bothan's walls sweated moisture, every surface felt alive. Hammy set new tripwires outside, empty tin cans, motion sensors, anything that made noise. He moved methodically, as if routine could hold back madness. Liam couldn't sit still. He paced the length of the small room until his reflection caught in the black glass of the stove. For a moment, he saw movement behind it, his own outline, lagging a heartbeat late. The same way the Watcher had turned. He blinked, and it was gone. He told himself it was fatigue, stress, the hangover of fear. He sat, opened the thermal camera again, more out of habit than need. The feed was empty. Just trees, fog, and faint heat signatures of the generator. Then the screen flickered. Temperature drop, 3 degrees Celsius. 4 degrees Celsius. 6 degrees Celsius. He felt the air change, heavy and thin all at once. "Hammy," he whispered. "It's back." The older man was already at the window, rifle raised. "Where?" "North side, 15 meters." "It's..." Liam stopped. The camera glitched, static swallowing half the image. "Wait. No. That's not..." The static cleared. A shape stood directly in front of the camera. Close. Too close. No face. No features. Just that smooth pale surface. And in its chest, where a heart should be, something pulsed red. A human handprint. Liam's handprint. The device beeped, biometric match. Before he could react, the screen filled with a flash of white light. The feed cut out. A sound rolled through the bothan, a single, hollow knock from the door. Slow. Heavy. Hammy froze. "It won't come in unless..." The knock came again, louder this time. Liam whispered, "Unless what?" Hammy's voice was barely audible. "Unless it thinks you've invited it." The third knock splintered the wood. The generator stuttered. The light bulb overhead burst, showering sparks. For a second, the room went black. Then a voice, his own again, whispered through the dark. "Let me in, Lee." The voice outside wasn't a shout. It was a breath pressed against the grain of the door, thin, wet, wrong. "Let me in, Lee." Liam froze, every hair on his neck rising. The way it said his name, it wasn't just mimicry. It carried the rhythm of his own heartbeat, as though the voice had grown from inside him and learned to speak outward. Hammy clicked the safety off his rifle. "Don't answer," he said. Not a word. The knocking stopped. For a moment the only sound was the hiss of the dying stove. Then, faintly, a scrape, metal on wood, circled the cabin walls, slow and deliberate. It was tracing the perimeter. Hammy grabbed a flare from the shelf, its label half peeled. "If it reaches the back window, light this and throw it outside." "Wolfsbane compound, Burns called." Liam swallowed. "You're serious?" Hammy's stare was flint. "You think I carry a prosthetic because I tripped on a log?" The scraping reached the far corner, paused, then moved again, climbing higher, like nails dragging upward. Above them, the roof groaned. Something heavy shifted its weight on the shingles. Liam looked up. Dust fell from the rafters. The silhouette of a hand pressed through the thin metal, 5 long fingers stretching outward, each ending in a point too fine for bone. "Hammy." "I see it." The hand withdrew. Silence returned. Even the wind seemed to hold its breath. Hammy crossed to the radio, now a melted lump of plastic in the stove's ash. "It's testing us," he muttered. "Seeing if we'll break the rule." "What rule?" "The first one. Don't cross the red line." "That doesn't make sense, we haven't left the cabin." "Maybe it's the one crossing." Liam stared at him. "Then what do we do?" "Nothing." Hammy's jaw tightened. "We wait. If we move, it follows. If we speak, it listens." They waited. Minutes dragged. The temperature dropped so sharply their breath fogged the air. Frost crept across the inside of the windows, feathering into runes that almost looked carved. Liam leaned closer and realized the lines formed letters, Gaelic, etched in ice. "Hammy," he whispered, "it's writing something." Hammy didn't turn. Don't read it. But the symbols pulsed faintly, glowing blue in the dark, and Liam couldn't help it. His mind translated the shapes without meaning to. The mark awaits. The ice cracked, splintering outward like veins. Then the door latch twitched. Once. Twice. Hammy raised the rifle. Back away. The latch turned. The door opened 3 inches before the chain snapped it tight. Mist poured through the gap, thick as breath. Inside it, something moved, a figure outlined in white vapor, standing perfectly still. Liam's voice broke before he could stop it. "Who's there?" Hammy hissed, "Don't." The figure stepped forward until its face, or where its face should have been, met the light spilling from the stove. It was him. Same height. Same shoulders. Same scar across the brow. But the eyes were hollow, reflecting nothing. Its mouth hung slightly open as if caught mid-breath. Liam staggered back. What is that?" His echo tilted its head, movement jerky, unnatural. When it spoke, the voice came from inside his own chest rather than the doorway. "Cold, isn't it?" Hammy fired. The flare screamed through the gap, burst into blue flame against the fog. The echo convulsed, its outline rippling like heat over metal. The smell of burning moss filled the room. Outside, the mist howled, not wind, but thousands of overlapping voices shrieking in the same pitch. The door slammed shut under an invisible force, rattling the hinges. The flare's light died instantly, smothered. Silence again. Then, a single knock. Gentle. Childlike. Hammy limped to the door, pressed his ear to the wood. "It's gone." Liam didn't believe him. "You sure?" Hammy nodded once. "For now." He opened the door an inch. Mist drifted in lazy ribbons across the threshold. Nothing stood outside except the trees and the pale glow of dawn behind them. But the red line had changed. It now ran in a perfect circle around the bothan, thin streaks of dark soil where the frost refused to settle. At its edge, a symbol was burned into the ground. A handprint. Human. Left palm. Liam's. Hammy stared at it for a long time. "You touched it," he said quietly. "I didn't." "You did. When you spoke, you gave it shape. The echo heard you. Now it's marked you." Liam stepped back from the door. "So what does that mean?" "It means you're its next mirror." Hammy's expression hardened. "And mirrors break." They spent the rest of the morning in grim silence. Hammy repaired the camera, muttering under his breath. Liam cleaned the rifle, though he'd never fired one before. Every few minutes the fog pressed against the window panes like a living thing, receding only when Hammy whispered in Gaelic. By late afternoon, the light outside dimmed again. It hadn't been a day, it had been hours stolen from the dark. Liam couldn't take it anymore. "You said the wardens keep the veil shut. But if this thing can just copy people, what's the point?" Hammy didn't look up. "The point's to buy time. Keep the gate asleep till it's ready to feed again. And when it wakes? Then someone feeds it." Liam frowned. "Feeds it what?" Hammy met his gaze. "Blood. Memory. Doesn't matter which, long as it's willing." A gust rattled the door before Liam could answer. The sound wasn't like wind this time, it was rhythmic, almost human. 3 beats. Pause. 3 again. Knocking. Hammy raised the rifle, motioned for silence. The knocking continued, circling the bothan the same way the scraping had before. Each set came from a different wall, moving faster. Liam's pulse quickened. "There's more than one." Hammy whispered, "Echoes." The windows darkened as shadows passed over them, shapes of people, dozens, maybe hundreds, all standing just beyond the fog. Their outlines pulsed faintly red, like embers breathing. Liam's stomach turned. They are not real. They are as real as what made them. The knocking stopped. Then, from every direction at once, came a whisper, "Liam Macrae." Hammy turned pale. "It's calling you proper now." Liam pressed his palms to his ears. "Make it stop." "You can't." Hammy grabbed him by the collar. "Once it learns your full name, you're bound to the line." The walls groaned. The frost patterns on the window began to move, twisting into new shapes, circles, teeth, eyes. Each blinked once, releasing a drop of water that hissed when it hit the floor. Hammy shoved Liam toward the stove. "Burn something with your name on it. Now." Liam ripped open his duffel, pulled out his parole papers, his name typed bold across the top, and threw them into the fire. The paper curled, blackened, disintegrated. The whispers faltered, thinning like smoke in wind. For a moment, peace. Then one last voice spoke, louder than the rest, female, gentle, almost kind. It came from the radio speaker, though it was nothing but charred plastic. "Thank you, Lee. Now I can see you." The generator blew. Lights out. Darkness consumed the room. Liam fumbled for the flare on the table, struck the cap. Blue fire burst into life, casting wild shadows across the walls. Hammy stood frozen, rifle half raised, staring at the far corner. "What?" Liam demanded. Hammy's voice was hoarse. "Look." In the corner, where the fog had leaked under the door, something glistened. At first Liam thought it was water. Then it moved, slow, deliberate. A single drop rose upward, defying gravity, followed by another, forming a thin stream that coiled like smoke toward the ceiling. The liquid shimmered black-red, reflecting the flare light in pulses. "What the hell is that?" Liam whispered. Hammy's eyes were wide. "Blood from the red line. It's come inside." The stream reached the rafters, then spread, sketching a shape against the wood. A circle. Then a second inside it. Then lines, 5 of them, branching outward like a hand. It finished drawing. A mark. The same handprint burned into the soil now glowed above them, dripping red light. Liam felt heat blossom under his left palm. He looked down. The same symbol was rising through his skin, searing itself from the inside out. He screamed, clutching his wrist. The pain wasn't sharp, it was deep, like something carving bone. Hammy grabbed him, pulled his arm under the flare. The symbol blazed brighter, lines etched with perfect precision. Then the light went out. The mark remained, faintly glowing beneath the skin. Hammy's face was pale. "You're bound now." Liam panted. "Bound to what?" "To the Watcher," Hammy said quietly. "You're its mirror. Wherever you go, it follows. Whatever you see, it learns." Outside, the fog pulsed red, as if in response. Hammy slung the rifle over his shoulder. "Pack your gear. We are leaving at first light." "Leaving? I thought we couldn't cross the red line." Hammy's eyes were dark. "We can't. But maybe it can follow you out." He glanced once more at the burning mark on Liam's hand. "Either we run, lad," he loaded a round into the chamber, the sound echoing like thunder in the small room. "Or we find out what it chose you for." The fog pressed against the windows until the glass bowed inward, whispering in 100 voices. "Welcome, Warden." Chapter 2, Blood Under the Lake. The fog didn't lift. It only stretched, thinner now, smeared across the hills like smoke that refused to fade. By dawn, Bothan Dub had fallen silent again. The generator's hum was steady, the frost on the windows ordinary. But nothing felt ordinary anymore. Liam couldn't stop looking at his hand. The mark burned faintly beneath the skin, a handprint inside a circle, pulsing like a second heartbeat. Every few minutes it warmed, then cooled, like it was breathing. Hammy said nothing about it all morning. He just packed, methodical as ever, checking the rifle, the flares, the emergency rations. When Liam finally spoke, the words came out harsher than he meant. "You said we'd leave at first light." Hammy zipped the duffel. "We are." "Where to?" "The lake." Liam froze halfway through his coffee. "What lake?" "Loch an Lane. 10 miles east. University kids went missing there last week." "That's a police matter." Hammy gave a dry laugh. "Police don't go past the red line. Not since '86. He threw Liam a weatherproof jacket, grey with a faded warden insignia stitched on the sleeve. "Suit up, lad. If the Watcher marked you, we'll find its echo in the water." Liam hesitated. "And if we don't?" "Hammy's one good eye met his. Then we'll find what it took instead." They left the Bothan at dawn's edge, driving the Land Rover through mist that felt alive. The Highlands rolled in silent grey folds around them, mountains dissolving into cloud, pines rising like cathedral pillars. The world was damp and infinite. Hammy drove in silence. Liam watched the landscape blur past, burnt heather, old stone fences, sheep bones half buried in peat. Once or twice he thought he saw movement in the fog, shapes that matched the rhythm of the car, keeping pace but never quite visible. When they stopped, it was at a rusted sign half swallowed by moss. "Loch an Lane, Wildlife Reserve." Someone had scratched over the words with a single phrase in Gaelic, "Na Dean Fwame." "Do not make sound." Hammy killed the engine. End of the line. The lake lay ahead, vast and dark, ringed with pines that leaned toward it as if listening. The surface was still, too still, like glass under a sky of ash. An island sat in the center, crowned with the crumbling ruins of a tower. Hammy loaded the rifle. "Set up the scanner. I'll check the perimeter." Liam unpacked the thermal drone from the case, Warden's tech, sleek but scarred. He powered it on, and the screen lit with grainy static that slowly resolved into the topography of the loch. Water temperature, 3 degrees Celsius. No movement. Then, faintly, something pulsed beneath the center, anomalous heat signature, circular, about 10 meters wide. Liam frowned. "You seeing this?" Hammy returned, kneeling beside him. "Wait. That's no fish. Could be a vent. Thermal activity." Hammy shook his head. "There's no volcanic line under the Cairngorms, lad. Whatever's warm down there, put itself there." He looked toward the island. "We'll need to get closer." They took the rowboat abandoned near the shore, old, wood-warped by years of neglect. Each stroke cut into the fog, leaving brief scars that closed as soon as they passed. The silence was suffocating. No birds. No insects. Not even wind. Halfway across, the air changed. The mark on Liam's hand burned suddenly, sharp enough to make him hiss. The lake around the boat rippled once, just once, but the wave didn't spread. It froze mid-motion, a perfect circle of still water. Hammy saw it too. "Hold fast." Liam gripped the sides as the boat drifted over the anomaly the drone had mapped. Beneath them, the black water glowed faintly red. Not light exactly, more like the memory of light, trapped deep below. Hammy reached for the sonar wand. "Let's see how deep this rabbit hole goes." He lowered the sensor into the water. It pinged once, twice, then flatlined. "Depth reading?" Liam asked. Hammy frowned. Can't get a return. It's like the signal's being swallowed. Liam leaned over, peering into the water. His reflection was barely visible, just two pale eyes staring back. Then, a second reflection appeared beside his. Smaller. Child-sized. He jerked back so hard the boat rocked. There's someone. Hammy stared at him. Careful, damn it. But the image was gone. Only the dark surface remained, swallowing the light. Liam's pulse hammered. There was a face. Hammy nodded grimly. You're seeing what it wants you to see. The mark's connecting you. To what? The other side of the veil. He rowed harder, pushing toward the island. They landed beside the ruin, a small stretch of rock and soil with the remnants of a stone watchtower, its walls slick with moss. The air here was heavier, the mist thicker. It smelled faintly of iron and something sweetly rotten. Hammy stepped ashore first, scanning with his rifle. Stay sharp. Missing kids were camping on this island. Liam followed, boots sinking into soft mud. He spotted a half-collapsed tent, half buried in reeds. Inside, a sleeping bag, shredded from the inside out. A phone, dead and waterlogged. And footprints, bare, deep, pointing away from the campfire. Hammy crouched beside one. You see it? The size? Looks normal. Look closer. Liam leaned down. Then he saw it. The toes were pointing backward. He stared. That's not possible. Hammy's voice was a whisper. No, lad. It's the echoes. When they walk, time bends around them. He followed the prints to the water's edge. The trail didn't end, it continued straight into the lake, vanishing beneath the surface. The mud was black there, bubbling faintly. Hammy muttered something in Gaelic, a prayer or a warning. Then he sighed. We'll need to go under. Liam blinked. You mean dive? Hammy pointed toward the lake. Those footprints came from the red line. If something crossed it, we need to see what for. I'm not trained for this. He tapped his metal leg. Just not built for it anymore. He looked up, eyes fierce. You're the marked one now, Lee. The ward'll let you pass. That's insane. So's everything else that's happened since last night. Liam hesitated, but the mark on his hand pulsed again, stronger now, tugging him toward the lake like an invisible tide. Fine, he muttered. But if I drown, I'm haunting you. Hammy actually smiled. Wouldn't be the first. They suited up with what little gear they had, wetsuit, oxygen tank, a waterproof camera tethered to Hammy's tablet. The cold hit like knives when Liam stepped in, his breath tearing from his chest. The mark on his palm flared white-hot, and for a heartbeat he thought he heard whispering beneath the surface, hundreds of voices murmuring in Gaelic, overlapping like waves. Hammy's voice came through the earpiece, steady. Depth 3 meters. Visibility poor. Keep the camera forward. Liam descended slowly. The world above faded into darkness and silt. His flashlight pierced only a few feet ahead, revealing a forest of drowned branches. Then, something white. A shape floated below, a circle of bones laid neatly on the lake bed. Human bones, dozens of them, arranged in a perfect ring. In the center sat something small. A child. Or what used to be one. Its skin was pale as candle wax. Its eyes were white, rolled upward, and its mouth was sewn shut with thin, metallic wire. The wire gleamed faintly, vibrating like the strings of a violin. Liam's breath caught. Hammy. I see something. Describe. There's a body. No, a kid. It's alive, its chest is moving. Static hissed through the earpiece. Hamish's voice broke apart. Get out, right now. The water around Liam began to move. Not current, something else. The silt rose, swirling in slow spirals. The bones around the child rattled softly, one by one, forming new patterns. Liam reached out instinctively. The child's eyes flicked open. They were blank white. But it looked at him. The mark on his hand seared. From the darkness behind him came a sound like a horse's breath, a long, wet exhale. The water turned viscous, thick with black oil. A shape stirred in the shadows, vast and heavy, hooves scraping stone. Hamish's voice crackled through the headset. Liam, move. Now. The camera swung. Through the gloom, something charged, a colossal silhouette, four-legged, mana drifting like smoke, skin glistening like tar. Eyes burning red beneath the surface. A kelpie. A waterhorse born of myth and murder. Liam kicked hard, propelling himself upward, lungs screaming. The creature lunged. Its teeth snapped inches from his fin, slicing through the hose. Air hissed out in a silver cloud. He broke the surface gasping. Hami! It's real! It's... The water exploded behind him. The water detonated behind him. A column of black spray rose 10 feet into the air as the kelpie broke the surface, screaming like steam escaping a furnace. Its shape was monstrous and fluid, part flesh, part tar, every movement trailing ribbons of viscous darkness that hissed when they touched the air. Liam barely had time to roll before the creature's hoof slammed into the side of the boat. Wood exploded into splinters. The lake swallowed him whole. The cold was a knife through his ribs. His lungs seized. The mark on his palm fled white, flooding his vision with light even underwater. Somewhere above, Hamish shouted his name, a muffled echo lost in the depths. He kicked toward the surface, but something closed around his ankle, not a hand, not quite, something slick and strong. He looked down and saw the kelpie's head rising from the dark, equine, skeletal, eyes burning with dull red light, its skin bubbling like melting pitch. It pulled him downward with impossible strength. The pressure built behind his eyes, his chest burned. Instinct overrode thought. He grabbed the flare gun from his belt, thumbed the cap, and fired point blank. The flare burst in a cloud of blue wolfsbane flame, punching a hole of light into the black water. The kelpie screamed, a sound like metal shearing against bone. Its grip loosened. Liam kicked free, shooting upward through the column of bubbles and ash. He broke the surface, coughing up water and bile. Hami! The older man was standing waist-deep near the shore, rifle in one hand, prosthetic leg half submerged. Over here, lad. Move. The kelpie rose behind Liam, its full form now visible, 4 meters tall, its mana dripping ropes of dark resin, its back studded with the bones of deer and men. As it climbed out of the lake, the water around it boiled. Hami fired. The first shot hit the creature square in the chest. Black liquid spattered across the surface, sizzling like acid. The kelpie barely flinched. The second shot tore off part of its jaw, revealing rows of teeth that kept growing back in real time. Run! Hami shouted. Liam swam harder, but the creature was faster. It lunged forward, hooves slamming down with the sound of collapsing stone. The shockwave lifted the water around him in a ring. A chunk of the boat smashed into his shoulder. Hami dropped the rifle, pulled a flare from his belt, blue casing, wolfsbane compound, and yanked the pin. Catch! He threw it. Liam reached, missed. The flare landed behind him, sinking in a slow spiral of cold fire. The water around it shimmered, glowing cobalt. The kelpie roared, its tar flesh blistering in the light. Hami waded deeper despite the weight of his prosthetic. The metal joint sparked under the water. "Come on, lad. Almost there." Liam reached the shallows just as the kelpie lunged again. Its jaws snapped shut on Hamish's left leg. Metal shrieked, then tore away completely. Hami went down, bellowing in pain. The creature dragged him backward, half into the lake. "Hami!" Liam grabbed the nearest thing, a broken oar, and dove. He jammed it between the kelpie's teeth. The wood splintered instantly, but it gave him enough leverage to grab Hamish's arm and pull. The kelpie reared, dragging both men through the shallows. Hamish's boot came off. Blood and water churned together into a single red cloud. "Get the flare!" Hamish shouted through clenched teeth. "Now!" Liam snatched the wolfsbane flare from the mud, flicked the cap, and hurled it at the creature's head. The flame struck its eye and burst. The effect was immediate. The kelpie convulsed, shrieking like a dying engine, black resin spraying from its mouth. Its form began to melt, collapsing into the lake with a hiss that shook the air. Steam rose, thick and bitter. The water went still. Liam stumbled onto the shore, dragging Hami behind him. The older man was pale, sweat beading on his forehead. The metal leg was gone, torn clean at the knee. The stump beneath was wrapped in blood and torn fabric. "Jesus Christ," Liam panted. "Hold still." Hami gritted his teeth as Liam tied off a tourniquet from his jacket sleeve. That's not the first time it's tried that," he muttered. "Bloody thing remembers." "What was that?" "Kelpie," Hami said between breaths. "Water demon. Feeds on the souls of the drowned. It nearly had both of us." But it didn't." He managed a weak smile. "Thanks to you, Brathair." Liam blinked. "What did you just call me?" "Brother." They sat there for a while, the fog curling around them like slow smoke. The lake simmered quietly, releasing faint bubbles that smelled like old blood and iron. After a long silence, Liam spoke. "That child down there, it was alive." "I swear it." Hami nodded grimly. "Alive's a stretch. The veil likes to keep what it takes halfway between." Liam looked down at his burned hand. The mark had changed, the lines now darker, stretching up his wrist like veins. It reacted to that thing. It burned when the kelpie moved. Hami studied it. "Then it's more than a mark. It's a tether." "To what?" "To whatever opened the lake." They both looked toward the still water. Somewhere beneath, the circle of bones shifted. The child's pale body had vanished. By late evening they'd built a small fire beside the wrecked boat. Hami's leg was cauterized with silver nitrate from the med kit. The air stank of burned flesh and wolfsbane smoke. Liam cleaned the rifle and kept glancing at the water. "You said the Watcher chooses people. What if the kelpie was guarding something it chose?" "Could be." Hami poked the fire. "Could also be it was feeding on the same energy that called the Watcher here." He reached into his coat, pulling out a small tin flask. "When the veil thins, the creatures come back hungry. The water remembers blood. Always does." Liam stared into the flames. "You sound like you've seen this before." Hami took a drink, grimaced. "Helmand, 2009. Whole platoon vanished overnight near a dry riverbed. Only thing left was our footprints, all pointing the wrong way. Thought it was the heat. Thought it was madness. Now I know better." He passed the flask. Liam took a swig. It burned down his throat but steadied his shaking hands. "Why me, Hami?" he asked quietly. "Why'd they send me up here? You could have had any other recruit." Hami looked into the fire. "Because the wardens don't choose randoms. They choose bloodlines. And you, lad, your family's been tied to the Vale longer than you've been alive. Liam's stomach turned. That's not possible. I'm just a ex-con from Glasgow? Wait. But your mother's maiden name was Sinclair, wasn't it? Clan Sinclair built the first chapel over the Red Line in 1624. The Watcher's Shrine. Liam's breath caught. How do you? Hammy tapped his temple. Files. The Wardens keep everything. Even ghosts need archives. Liam stood, pacing. The fog had thickened again, swirling with the smell of salt and something older, like wet stone. Across the lake, lights flickered, faint, blue, moving in slow circles above the water. Hammy, he said. You seeing that? The older man turned, squinting. Bloody hell. The lights weren't reflections. They were lanterns, half a dozen of them, floating just above the surface, moving toward shore in perfect unison. Beneath each light, something walked. Tall, thin figures, almost human, dragging long ropes that vanished into the lake. Hammy's face drained of color. Wardens dead. The ones that didn't make it out last time. They are alive? No, he raised the rifle. And they are not coming to help. The lanterns stopped 20 meters from shore. The figures beneath them turned in perfect sync. The mist behind them rippled, something huge stirring underneath the surface. Liam felt the mark on his hand pulse again, once, hard enough to make his vision swim. In his mind, a voice spoke, soft, female, and impossibly close. You brought the fire. Now feed it. The lake erupted. A geyser of black water shot skyward, followed by the deafening roar of the Kelpie's return, half its body burned, flesh fused with stone, eyes like molten coal. It dragged chains behind it, and on the chains hung skulls, clattering like bells. Hammy shouted, down, and fired. The first shot went wide. The second tore through the creature's flank, but it only enraged it further. Wolfsbane! Liam yelled, fumbling for another flare. Use the last one. The Kelpie crashed toward shore, dragging the corpses of the drowned wardens with it. They moved like puppets in the water, faces still intact, eyes open and blank. Liam grabbed the only thing burning, the fire pit. He kicked it over, scattering flaming peat across the mud. Sparks hissed as they hit the wet ground. The creature hesitated at the edge, nostrils flaring. Liam seized the moment, snatched a piece of burning peat with his bare hand, ignoring the pain, and hurled it at the Kelpie's face. The peat burst, scattering hot embers across its tarred hide. The smell of wolfsbane mixed with smoke, Hammy's earlier brew still soaked into the soil. The Kelpie shrieked again, thrashing violently. Its chain snapped, scattering skulls into the water. The floating lights winked out one by one, leaving only the fire's glow. Hammy lay on his back, panting, rifle smoking. You mad bastard. You actually hit it. Liam's burned hand throbbed, but the mark was brighter than ever, lines pulsing red through the char. It's not dead. No, Hammy said. But it's afraid. The water stilled once more. The fog swallowed the last ripple, and silence returned to the Highlands. They sat side by the dying fire, soaked, bleeding, shaking. For the first time, the silence felt earned. Hammy reached over, laid a hand on Liam's shoulder. You did good, Brathair. Liam nodded weakly. You too. They looked out at the lake. Beneath its calm surface, faintly visible under the thin ice, the circle of bones glowed again, and at its center, the place where the child had been was empty. Only one thing remained, a trail of footprints, walking backward across the lake, vanishing into the fog. The mist never stopped moving. It shifted like breath across the water, curling around the wreckage of the fire until even the flames seemed to flicker in slow motion. By dawn, the Kelpie's body had sunk. The lake was still again, black, glassy, pretending to forget. Hammy sat propped against a boulder, face pale but eyes still sharp. He'd bandaged the stump himself with strips of thermal lining. The blood had slowed, but every breath came with a wince. Liam crouched by the water, his burned hand wrapped in a strip of his undershirt. The mark still pulsed faintly through the fabric, matching the rhythm of the waves. "You shouldn't move," he said. Hammy snorted. "You shouldn't breathe near that thing, but we both make bad choices. Doesn't look like we have many left." Hammy stared at the lake. "Not since it woke." They rested until the light turned thin and silver, Highland morning, the kind that looked like it belonged to another planet. Then they started following the tracks. The backward footprints led away from the shore, cutting through the frost-crusted grass and up into the pines. Each print was clean, as if pressed moments ago, though no warmth rose from them. The fog gathered thick around the path, muffling their steps. Hammy leaned on a makeshift crutch fashioned from a snapped oar. Every few minutes he stopped, listening. "What do you hear?" Liam asked quietly. "Not hearing's what bothers me." They moved higher into the woods, the air colder, the trees older. The trunks grew close together, bark black with damp, branches knotted like veins. Eventually the ground began to slope downward again, and through the mist something took shape, a ruin of stone and moss, half swallowed by the hillside. A chapel. Its roof had collapsed decades ago, and its walls were carved with Gaelic inscriptions eroded by rain. A rusted iron bell lay cracked in the grass, its mouth filled with water. Hammy exhaled slowly. "Claver Chapel." Liam frowned. "You know this place?" "Built over a warden tomb. Sanctuary for the fallen. They buried the old blood here, those who tried to seal the veil the first time." They stepped inside. The air was colder still, heavy with rot and incense long burned away. The altar at the center was broken, but something had been placed on it, a small bundle wrapped in canvas, roughly the size of a child. Liam froze. "Please tell me that's not what it looks like." Hammy limped closer, rifle raised. "Stay behind me." He nudged the bundle with the muzzle. It moved. Liam flinched. "It's alive." Hammy crouched, unwrapping the canvas slowly. Inside lay a child, no older than 10, skin pale, hair the color of peat water. Its eyes were open but blank, rolled white. And its mouth was sewn shut with thin silver wire, glinting faintly in the dim light. "God," Liam whispered. Hammy shook his head. "No, lad. Nothing divine here." The child stirred. Its chest rose once, shuddered, then fell. A sound like humming leaked through the sealed mouth, muffled notes, rhythmic and eerie, as if trying to form a tune. Liam recognized it. The same melody that had echoed through the fog the night before. The bagpipe song. He stepped closer despite himself. "What is it?" Hammy's jaw tightened. "A mouth of the veil. A conduit." "In English?" "It's what the creatures use when they want to speak through the fog." The humming grew louder. The air in the chapel shifted, bending around them. Dust lifted off the floor, spinning in tiny vortices. The mark on Liam's hand blazed. Hammy aimed the rifle. "Don't let it finish the song." "Wait!" The hum stopped abruptly. Then, impossibly, the wire snapped one strand at a time, each with a metallic twang that echoed like bells. The child's mouth opened. And it screamed. Not a human scream, something deeper, older. The walls shook. The bell outside clanged once without being touched. The ground vibrated as if something enormous had stirred beneath it. Hammy fired. The shot hit dead center in the child's chest. The scream cut off. Silence fell so suddenly it rang in their ears. Liam stumbled backward. "Jesus Christ, Hammy!" "Don't," Hammy said flatly. "You'd rather it kept singing?" Smoke rose from the wound, not blood, but mist. The body dissolved into vapor, fading until nothing remained but the silver wire coiled on the altar like a dead snake. Hammy picked it up carefully with his knife. "We'll need this." "Proof." "Proof of what?" "That something's building a gate under the lock." Liam stared at him. "A gate?" "The veil doesn't open by accident," Hammy said. "It needs a song. A key." The mouth was one. The Kelpie was another. The Watcher's just the guard. And the child? Collateral. Liam's stomach churned. "You've done this before." Hammy didn't look up. "We all have our ghosts." They left the chapel as the fog began to thin. The footprints continued beyond the ruins, vanishing into a narrow valley where the trees grew sparse. The ground there was soft peat, slick with water seeping from underground. Halfway down the slope, Liam stopped. "You hear that?" At first Hammy didn't answer. Then he heard it too, a faint mechanical hum, like static over a radio. It was coming from his pack. He unzipped it. The broken radio, charred, melted, dead, was vibrating. Liam stepped back. "Don't touch it." Hammy hesitated. The radio hissed once, then spoke. "Hamish Drummond." The voice was female. Calm. Clear. It spoke his full name with perfect cadence. Hammy froze. "No one alive calls me that." The voice continued, louder now. "Hamish Drummond of the 47th. Your watch is over." Liam looked at him in alarm. "What the hell does that mean?" Hammy's face had gone white. 47th, that's my unit number. From Helmand." "Helmand?" Before he could answer, the ground trembled again. From the valley below came a low groan, like the shifting of earth, or the breathing of something buried. The fog rose from the soil in spirals, coalescing into shapes. Human silhouettes. Dozens. Their outlines flickered like candle flames, each wearing what looked like a tattered warden insignia. "Your platoon," Liam whispered. Hammy raised his rifle with shaking hands. "No. Not anymore." The ghosts began to move uphill, slow but deliberate, faces featureless. As they approached, the air grew thick, pressure mounting in Liam's skull. The mark on his hand flared, reacting. The fog between him and the phantoms began to twist, forming a barrier of red light. The lead figure stopped just short of it. When it spoke, its voice was 100 voices at once. "Warden 48. The veil calls." Liam stepped back. "They're talking to me." Hammy shouted, "Don't answer!" But the mark on Liam's hand burned hotter, forcing words from his throat before he could think. "I'm here." The phantoms bowed their heads in unison. "Then the Watcher will come." The light vanished. The valley fell silent. A sound like tearing fabric split the air. Every tree in sight bent toward the east. The temperature dropped 10 degrees in seconds. Hammy turned slowly. "Oh, Christ." Through the thinning fog on the far ridge stood the same towering silhouette from the first night, 3 meters tall, faceless, perfectly still. The Hollow Watcher. It wasn't in the forest anymore. It was on open ground, watching them directly. Hammy's voice was barely a whisper. "It's never crossed this far before." Liam's pulse thundered. "Then it's coming for us." "No," Hammy said, eyes locked on the figure. "It's coming for you." The Watcher tilted its head slightly, a slow, deliberate motion. Then the air between them rippled, like heat above asphalt, and the ground inside the valley began to sink, folding inward as if something massive were pushing up from below. The radio crackled again. 48 will open the way. Liam felt the pull again, the invisible tether in his palm tightening. The mark on his hand ignited with blinding light. "Hammy," he shouted. "I can't move." The watcher took a single step forward, and every sound in the world died. Hammy grabbed Liam by the shoulders, shouting over the impossible silence, "Fight it! Look away!" But Liam's gaze was locked. The watcher's faceless head filled his vision, white, endless, devouring. A whisper brushed his ear, cold and ancient. "I have chosen." Light swallowed everything. Chapter 3, Reaper Appears. The road back from the lock was little more than a scar through the pines. Mud froze to the Land Rover's tires, the engine coughing smoke into the mist. Inside the cab, Hammy's breathing rasped in rhythm with the wipers. Every drag across the glass revealed nothing but more fog. Liam sat beside him, silent, staring at his hand. The mark had darkened overnight, veins of crimson threading toward his wrist like roots seeking the heart. Every pulse sent a dull ache up his arm. He tried to bandage it again, the cloth burned through within an hour. Hammy broke the silence. "We'll reach Bothan Dub before dark. If the gods are kind." "They aren't," Liam said. Hammy almost smiled. "They never were." The forest pressed close on both sides, black trunks, grey mist, the faint glitter of frost on every branch. Somewhere far off, a crow called once and was swallowed by the fog. Liam leaned his head back. "You think it's still following us?" "The watcher doesn't follow," Hammy said. "It waits." "For what?" "For the gate to open." He didn't elaborate, and Liam didn't ask again. The weight in the air made conversation feel like sin. They saw the smoke before they saw the cabin. Not the thin thread of peat fire they'd left behind, but a thick black column rising straight into the sky. Hammy's knuckles whitened on the wheel. "That's the Bothan." Liam's gut tightened. "Maybe the generator caught." "Generators don't burn black," Hammy snapped. He floored the accelerator. The Land Rover bounced over the frozen ruts, engine roaring. The fog parted in shreds as they burst into the clearing. Bothan Dub was still standing, but the door hung open, hinges bent. Smoke poured from the chimney in unnatural plumes, too dark, too oily. Hammy killed the engine and grabbed his rifle. "Stay behind me." Liam followed, every step sinking into ash-wet earth. The air smelled of gunpowder and something sweetly rotten, like burned meat. Inside, the cabin was wrecked. Papers scattered across the floor, the corkboard split in half, the stove cold and dead. Something had been dragged through the room, deep gouges in the wood leading to the far wall. Then a voice from the shadows, "Took you long enough." Both men spun. A figure stepped from the dark corner, limping slightly. He was tall, broad-shouldered, beard shot with grey, eyes the pale blue of glacial ice. His coat was a patchwork of leather and Kevlar, the pockets lined with vials and silver cartridges. A hunting knife hung from his belt, blackened by use. He was holding something by the hair. It took Liam a heartbeat to realize it was a head. Stone skin, cracked like granite. Empty sockets where eyes should have been. A troll's head, still twitching, its mouth working soundlessly. Hammy exhaled. "Christ almighty. You and Kerr." The man grinned. "They still call me Reaper, but I'll answer to Kerr if you're feeling polite." Liam stared. "You real?" "Last I checked." Kerr tossed the troll's head onto the table, it landed with a heavy crack. "You two picked a bad week to be in the Highlands." Hammy lowered his rifle but didn't relax. "You were supposed to be dead." So were you, old man. Kerr's eyes flicked to the missing leg. Guess we are both stubborn. Liam looked from one to the other. You know him? Hammy nodded reluctantly. Ex-warden. Walked out after Ben Macrae. That massacre? Liam asked. The one no one talks about? Kerr chuckled without humor. Oh, they talked. Just not to anyone who lived to repeat it. He pulled a flask from his coat, took a swallow, then poured the rest over the troll's head. The liquid hissed. Came up here tracking this bastard. Thought it was the only thing moving in the fog. Turns out I was wrong. They sat in the ruined cabin while the day died outside. Kerr talked as he cleaned his weapons, a pair of sawed-off shotguns etched with runes, silvered knives dulled from use. Hammy listened, jaw clenched. Liam kept glancing at the mark on his hand. Under the lamplight it seemed to glow in rhythm with Kerr's words. The Hollow Watcher, Kerr said, isn't your garden variety spook. It's a gatekeeper. Been standing at the edge of the Vale since before your clans carved gods out of oak. The wardens were meant to keep people away from it, not kill it. Liam frowned. Then what does it want? Not what, who? Kerr leaned forward. The Watcher chooses a vessel every generation. A living anchor to keep the gate balanced. Without one, the Vale eats its own edges, and the world starts to bleed. Hammy's voice was rough. And if the vessel dies? Then something else takes its place. Kerr looked at Liam. Sometimes before the body's cold. The room went still. Liam felt the mark throb under his skin. You think that's me? Kerr's expression didn't change. I know it is. That brand isn't decoration. It's a seal. The Watcher burned you into the pattern. Hammy slammed a fist on the table. We can break it. Kerr smirked. That's what we all said the first time. The first time? Ben Macrae, 2009. The red line shifted onto the base. We thought it was weather. 47 men went in. One came out. Hammy's eyes darkened. You. Me, Kerr said simply. And the Watcher's mark on my back to prove it. Thought I'd outrun it. Thought I'd buried the past. He glanced toward the window, where fog pressed against the glass. Turns out, the past doesn't stay buried in this country. Liam's mind churned. If this thing wants an anchor, why me? I didn't even know it existed 2 days ago. Blood, Kerr said. Yours carries old warden code. The Macrae line ties back to the first gate builders. You've got the signal in you, whether you like it or not. Hammy swore under his breath. I should have seen it. You couldn't, Kerr said. The wardens kept those files sealed. Division Black's been grooming replacements for decades. Liam stood, pacing. So what, you saying I'm supposed to let it take me? Become some cosmic plug? Kerr's laugh was dry as gravel. You could. Or we stop the gate before it needs you. How? We close it from this side. Hammy shook his head. That's suicide. Maybe, Kerr said, shrugging. But it's better than watching the sky split open. He reached into his pack and slid a small metal case across the table. Inside were 3 bullets, dull silver etched with Gaelic runes. Wolfsbane cores, Kerr said. Blessed in salt, cooled in grave soil. Only thing that can wound the Watcher's shell. Wound, Liam repeated. Not kill? Kerr met his eyes. You don't kill what built your shadow. Outside, the wind shifted. The cabin door creaked though it was closed. The fire in the stove guttered, then flared blue. Kerr stood instantly, shotgun in hand. It's close. Hammy limped to the window, peering through the slit in the boards. Fog's moving wrong. Liam checked the thermal scope. The screen flickered with static, then showed a single cold signature moving between the trees. 3 meters tall. Slow. Deliberate. It's him, he whispered. Kerr exhaled. No. It's not alone. The thermal feed bloomed with heat signatures, small ones, dozens of them, crawling through the mist toward the cabin. Their shapes twisted, half human, half feral. Hammy's grip tightened on his rifle. Bloody goblins. Mountain kind. They follow the Watcher like carrion crows, Kerr said. It's marking territory. Liam swallowed. How many? Kerr cocked both barrels. Enough to make this interesting. The first hit came from the roof. A shape crashed through the shingles, snarling, claws raking wood. Hammy fired upward, black blood spattered across the ceiling. 2 more burst through the windows, eyes glowing red, teeth like wet glass. Liam ducked, grabbing the shotgun Kerr tossed him. Safety's off! Kerr shouted. The next few seconds were chaos, gunfire, screams, the stench of burning flesh. Goblins poured through the smoke like insects, small but vicious. Hammy fired from the corner, precise and lethal despite the missing leg. Each shot took one down, but more came. Kerr moved like he'd done this 100 times, knife in one hand, gun in the other, every motion efficient, merciless. They are testing us, he growled. Feeling for the weak one. Liam fired blind into the fog outside. You mean me? Kerr didn't answer. The floorboards shook. From beneath the cabin came a sound like cracking bone. A claw punched through the floor, catching Liam's ankle and yanking hard. He went down, hitting the table. The flare case spilled open, one silver round rolling toward the edge. He grabbed it instinctively, and the mark on his hand ignited. The bullet pulsed, glowing faintly red, the runes flaring to life. The goblin holding him shrieked and recoiled as if burned. Liam jammed the glowing round into the breech of his shotgun, cocked it, and fired. The shot tore through the floor and into the earth below. The explosion wasn't sound but pressure, a low concussive thrum that rolled through the cabin and out into the woods. Every goblin froze mid-snarl, then crumbled into ash. Silence. Smoke drifted through the doorway, faintly blue under the lantern light. Outside, the fog retreated, dragging the cold with it. Hammy lowered his rifle. You still think we can win this? Kerr wiped blood from his face, breathing hard. I think we just told the Watcher where we are. He glanced at Liam, the mark still burning bright through the bandage. And now it knows you can fight back. The silence after the fight felt heavier than the noise itself. Ash floated in the lantern light, drifting like slow snow. The smell of spent gunpowder and something faintly metallic lingered in the air. Kerr kicked a half-charred goblin body with his boot, it crumbled to dust. Mountain strain, he muttered. Haven't seen them this far south since Ben McDouey. Hammy sank onto a crate, breathing through his teeth. You sure that was all of them? Until it isn't, Kerr said, checking the breech of his shotgun. They never come without reason. Means the Watcher's moving its perimeter. Liam wiped his sleeve across his face, smearing soot. Why us? Why now? Because the gate's waking, Kerr said simply. When the air starts tasting like iron, the veil's thin enough to breathe through. He rummaged through his pack and pulled out a folded map. It was old, edges torn, corners stained with oil, but new markings had been inked over it, red circles, lines, symbols that looked half scientific, half ritualistic. He flattened it on the table between them. Cairngorm's the center. Always has been. The Wardens built the red line around it, 12 boundary points, each one sealed with a Warden's bloodline. You were one of them, Hammy. 47th Division. Your blood helped hold it shut. Hammy's jaw tightened. And it's been leaking ever since. Kerr pointed to a mark near the lock. That's where it started thinning. Every sighting, every disappearance, every storm in the last year, they all spiral back to the peak. Liam leaned over the map. So that's where we go? Kerr shook his head. Not yet. The gate doesn't open on command. It needs a catalyst. A marked vessel. Liam's stomach turned. Me. Kerr said. The Watcher can't step through until you're within range of the heart. It's bound to you now. Think of it like pressure on glass. You move closer, it pushes harder. Hammy lit a cigarette with trembling fingers. How long before it breaks? Kerr took a small, battered timer from his coat, clicked it on. The display flickered red, 72 hours. 3 days, he said. That's all the Watcher needs. When the clock runs out, the gate opens whether you're ready or not. Liam stared at the numbers, hypnotized by the slow tick downward. Then what? The world ends? Not all at once, Kerr said. Just the parts that remember how to dream. They worked in grim silence for the next hour, barricading the windows, cleaning weapons, replacing the ruined radio with Kerr's field transceiver. The fog outside pressed against the glass like a living thing, glowing faintly with its own inner light. Hammy finished wrapping the stump of his leg. I can still shoot, but I won't be running anywhere. We won't need to, Kerr said. We'll drive north by night, cut through the forestry roads, reach the observation post at Glenmore. Division Black keeps an army there, enough wolfsbane and salt rounds to fight a war. Liam frowned. If they have all that, why haven't they stopped this already? Kerr's expression darkened. Because they want it to happen. Hammy froze. Come again? Kerr leaned against the wall, folding his arms. Division Black stopped guarding the Vale years ago. Now they study it. They think the Watcher's a gateway to control dimensional access, energy, information, immortality, whatever the suits are selling this week. They don't care what bleeds through as long as they get to write the report. So what, this is a science experiment? Liam asked. An autopsy, Kerr said. And you're the specimen. Liam's chest tightened. You lying. Kerr met his gaze without flinching. Wish I was. Hammy crushed the cigarette under his boot. Then we are on our own. Kerr said. Always were. The storm hit after midnight. Rain hammered the roof in sheets, thunder rolling low across the valley. The wind carried the faint scent of burning peat and salt. Liam couldn't sleep. Every time he closed his eyes he saw the Watcher's blank face hovering behind his eyelids, heard the faint echo of the child's song from the chapel. He sat by the stove, staring into the embers until shapes began to move inside them, shadows that looked almost human. Kerr entered quietly, setting down 2 mugs of something that smelled like black coffee and smoke. Drink. Helps with the cold. Liam accepted it, the warmth grounding him. You ever stop seeing them? Kerr glanced at the fire. No. You just learn which ghosts to listen to. They sat in silence for a moment, rain tapping against the windows. Liam finally asked, why come back? After Ben McDouey, you could have left Scotland. No one would have blamed you. Kerr's jaw worked. Because I made a promise. To who? The last warden who died on that mountain. He took a sip of coffee. He told me if the Watcher ever woke again, I'd know. He was right. Liam stuttered him. You not afraid? Kerr smiled faintly. Fear's just memory. You can't feel it if you've already died once. He set the mug down and pulled a small object from his coat pocket, a tarnished silver badge shaped like a stag's skull. Warden insignia. Yours now. Liam blinked. You serious? Deadly. You've earned it. Like it or not, you're 48th. Liam hesitated, then took it. The metal was cold, but it pulsed faintly, almost like it recognized him. What does it mean? He asked. It means when the fog comes for you again, Kerr said, you can call it by name. Hammy joined them near dawn, limping but alert. If we are heading north, we'll need daylight. Fog's thick enough to hide a regiment, but I'd rather see what's trying to kill us. Kerr nodded. Grab what you can. We move in 20. They loaded the rover with ammo, flares, and the remaining wolfsbane compound. The troll's head Kerr had brought now sat in a sealed box lined with salt. Liam frowned at it. Why keep that thing? Because trolls are territorial, Kerr said. If it's dead, its kin will follow the scent. Might buy us time. Hammy muttered, grand, we're using monsters to fight monsters. Welcome to Scotland, Kerr said. The drive north was worse than before. The storm had turned the forest roads into rivers of mud. Every few miles they had to stop and clear fallen branches. The fog never lifted, it simply shifted color, from grey to blue to a faint crimson that bled from the horizon like dawn seen through smoke. After hours of crawling through the endless mist, they crested a ridge and saw lights flickering in the valley below, industrial flood lamps arranged in a circle, glowing through the fog like an artificial sun. Hammy squinted. That's Glenmore. Kerr cut the engine. Division Black's already there. Liam leaned forward. Then why stop? Because they are not alone. Through the binoculars, he saw movement around the lamps, figures in hazmat suits dragging something massive toward the center of the circle. For a moment Liam thought it was a torp. Then he realized it was skin, translucent, veined, human. What are they doing? He whispered. Kerr's face was stone. Preparing the vessel. If they can't control the Watcher, they'll summon it. Hammy swore softly. Those idiots'll bring the gate down on all of us. Which is why we stop them, Kerr said. But first, we make a pact. He turned to Liam. You've got the mark. Only you can close it from the inside. That means when the time comes, you walk through. No hesitation. Liam stared at him. And you? I'll hold the line until you're gone. Hammy slammed his fist against the dash. No. We go together. Kerr's gaze softened just slightly. You've already given enough, old man. Let the lad finish it. Liam looked between them, the soldier and the hunter, both ghosts of wars no one remembered. If we do this, there's no coming back, is there? Kerr shook his head. There never was. The three men sat in silence while the fog shifted outside, hiding the valley below. Then Kerr extended his hand, the scars on his knuckles catching the faint light. One promise, he said. No running. No surrender. When the veil opens, we end it or it ends us. Hammy gripped his hand first. Liam hesitated, then clasped both of theirs. The mark on his palm flared, searing warmth spreading through the room. The air seemed to vibrate, the fog outside pulsing once in answer. Kerr released his grip and smiled grimly. Then it settled. The Watcher's hunt ends at Cairngorm. Outside, thunder rolled across the Highlands. For a heartbeat the clouds tore open, revealing a sky shot through with veins of red light, thin cracks spreading outward from the mountain peak. The first sign that the gate was waking. Night on the plateau was unnaturally still. The fog no longer drifted, it hummed, as though the air itself had turned to glass. From their vantage point on the ridge, the valley below looked like the inside of a dying star, rings of crimson light spinning slowly around the floodlit camp of Division Black. Kerr crouched beside a boulder, binoculars raised. 6 tents, 3 generators, and one hell of a mistake. Hammy peered through his scope. Movement near the lamps, security. Automatic rifles, full masks. They're not out here for research anymore. Liam said nothing. The mark on his hand had begun to ache again, pulsing in rhythm with the strobing lights below. Every beat sent a faint whisper through his skull, like static trying to form words. Kerr lowered the binoculars. They've already drawn the circle. The summoning? Hammy asked. 12 pylons, iron, and salt. They think they can open the veil and control it. Liam studied the scene. Can they? Kerr smiled thinly. They can open it. He chambered around. Control's another story. They descended through the tree line under cover of the storm. Rain hissed on the leaves, masking their approach. The closer they came, the louder the low mechanical hum grew, a sound like a heartbeat amplified through metal. At the edge of the clearing, Liam froze. The air shimmered faintly, distorting the view ahead. What is that? Barrier field, Kerr said. Keeps the fog out, or us in. He pulled a canister from his pack, twisted the valve, and rolled it across the ground. A plume of white vapor spread outward, disrupting the shimmer. Windows open. Move. They slipped inside. Up close, the camp was a maze of cables and floodlights. At the center, the scientists, or whatever Division Black had become, were gathered around a steel frame suspended over a pit. Wires ran from it into the ground, pulsing with red light. In the frame hung something human-shaped. Hammy exhaled softly. That's no mannequin. Liam's stomach twisted. Who is it? Kerr's jaw hardened. A volunteer, if you believe the paperwork. The figure stirred, faintly, like a dreamer turning in sleep. The light from the pylons brightened, feeding into it. The air thrummed. Gates charging, Kerr whispered. We've got maybe 20 minutes before it breaches. What do we do? Liam asked. We cut the power and pray physics still works. They moved fast. Kerr slipped into the shadows along the generator line while Hammy set up his rifle behind an overturned truck. Liam followed Kerr, heart pounding in his ears. The rain had turned to sleet, each drop hissing as it hit the heated metal around them. Kerr pointed to a junction box sparking near the pit. There. You pull the main, I'll handle the cover. He yanked the casing open with a knife. Sparks flew. Now. Liam grabbed the lever and pulled. The hum stopped. For half a second, there was silence, the kind that feels like the world holding its breath. Then every light in the valley turned red. An alarm wailed. Voices shouted. The pylons flared, burning brighter than before. Kerr cursed. Fail safe. They wired a backup. The air tore open above the pit. Not an explosion, an absence. The rain bent toward it, sucked upward into a growing wound in the sky. Through it, Liam glimpsed something vast and endless, black mist shot through with countless eyes. The veil, Hammy breathed. A blast of pressure knocked them backward. The generators erupted in blue fire. Figures in hazmat suits scattered, weapons rising. Kerr fired once, shattering a lamp and plunging half the site into shadow. Move, he shouted. Liam scrambled behind a stack of crates. The mark on his hand blazed, and the whisper in his head became a voice, soft, female, echoing from the wound above. You are the key. Step forward. He pressed his palm against his chest. Not now. Not yet. Kerr grabbed him by the collar. Lad, look at me. You go near that thing and it'll tear you apart. It's calling me. Then tell it to wait its bloody turn. Hamish's rifle cracked. 2 guards dropped. We can't hold them long. Kerr scanned the chaos. Then we don't. We end it. He tossed Liam a small metal capsule etched with runes. Wolfsbane charge. Straight into the conduit. The pit? You throw it, it cooks the anchor and collapses the circle. Quick death for whatever's trying to crawl through. Liam looked at the swirling wound in the sky, at the figure suspended beneath it. And the person in there? Kerr's eyes were cold. Already gone. Lightning flashed. The gate pulsed wider, spilling scarlet light across the mountainside. From its edges poured thin strands of mist that writhed like living veins. One brushed the ground, burning the grass to ash. Liam gritted his teeth. Cover me. He ran. Bullets sparked off the steel frame as the Division Black operatives opened fire. Kerr and Hami returned shots, driving them into cover. The wind screamed as the veil widened, its voice rising into a keening note that set Liam's teeth on edge. He reached the pit, the capsule hot in his hand. The figure inside the frame opened its eyes, pure white, weeping smoke. Don't, it whispered. It's not ready. Liam hesitated. The voice was familiar. Who are you? It smiled faintly. The one before you. The mark on his hand flared so bright it lit the fog around him. He saw now that the figure's skin bore the same sigil, burned deep and old. 47th, it said. Finish it. He hurled the capsule into the pit. For a heartbeat, nothing. Then light erupted, cold, blue, absolute. The shockwave rolled outward, flattening tents, shattering glass. Liam hit the ground hard, ears ringing. When he looked up, the wound in the sky was collapsing, folding inward like fabric consumed by flame. The suspended figure vanished in the light. The remaining pylons melted, spilling molten metal into the rain. It was over. Almost. The silence that followed wasn't natural. It was the kind of silence that comes after a scream. The fog above the valley trembled once, then began to move uphill, retreating toward the peak of Cairn Gorm. Kerr helped Liam to his feet. You closed the circle here. But it's not done. Hami limped over, bleeding but alive. What's left? Kerr looked toward the mountain, its summit now glowing faint red beneath the clouds. The heart. The true gate. It's open now, even if only a crack. Liam swayed, dizzy. So this was just the beginning. Kerr said quietly. The first breath before the scream. He turned toward the north, where the storm gathered in a spiral above the peak. Cairn Gorm's calling the Watcher home. And if it gets there first, there won't be a world left to save. Hami reloaded his rifle, jaw set. Then we climb. Kerr nodded once. At dawn. Liam looked back at the ruined camp, the twisted lights, the burnt symbols, the red stain fading from the sky, and felt the mark on his hand pulse again. For the first time, the whisper didn't sound like a stranger. It sounded like himself. Chapter 4, Grave Raid and Curse. Dawn came thin and colorless, the kind that never truly warms the Highlands. Mist rolled low over the moor, dragging shadows between the heather. The road north wound through silence, only the Land Rover's old engine broke it, coughing against the incline. No one spoke for the first hour. Hami drove with the precision of habit, his metal leg clanking against the clutch. Kerr sat in the back, checking his knives and the strange copper talismans he wore on a leather strap. Liam watched the horizon through the cracked windshield, pale hills, skeletal pines, and beyond them the faint curve of stone circles like ribs pushing through earth. At last Hami broke the quiet. "We shouldn't be here." Kerr looked up. "That's the point." Hami's mouth twitched. But there's old blood in those cairns. Wardens buried their own. The stones remember." "Then maybe they'll remember us kindly," Kerr said. Liam stared at the passing landscape. "Why here?" Kerr tapped the map spread across his knee. "Claver Cairns is more than a graveyard. It's the anchor site, where the first Warden Pact was written. If the Watcher's waking, we'll find its trail in the stones. And if we don't? Then we are out of time." They reached the edge of the site by noon. A line of standing stones rose from the mist like the teeth of something enormous buried long ago. Between them, the cairns themselves, mounds of rock arranged in perfect concentric circles, their entrances low and black. The air smelled of peat and frost and something older, metallic, like rain on rusted iron. Hami shut off the engine. "Welcome to the end of history." They unpacked in silence. Kerr checked his instruments, a handheld spectrometer humming faintly with static. Liam shouldered the lantern pack and followed them toward the central mound. Every step felt like walking into a lung. The air grew thicker, colder, pressing against the skin. As they entered the circle, the wind died completely. Even the birds stopped. Hami muttered an old prayer under his breath. "For them that keep the gate." Kerr shot him a look. "You still remember the words?" "Hard to forget when they're carved on your bones," Hami said. The entrance to the main cairn was barely a meter high. Kerr crouched first, crawling inside with a flashlight clamped between his teeth. Liam followed, then Hami, the scrape of his prosthetic echoing in the tunnel. Inside, the light revealed a narrow chamber lined with stacked stones, each etched with runes. At the center lay a circular slab, a lid, or an altar. Moss glistened on it like sweat. Kerr ran his fingers over the markings. Old Gaelic, older than any script we use now. The Wardens called this place Cried Na Scale, the Heart of Shadows. Hami crouched, brushing away lichen. Names, dozens of them, all cut deep. Liam leaned closer. The runes weren't random, they formed a spiral inward, each name older, fainter, until at the very core a single carving gleamed new, untouched by age. He froze. The name read, Liam Macrae. And beneath it, the date, 1998. The lantern trembled in his hand. "That's impossible?" Hami said quietly. Kerr studied the carving, expression unreadable. "The stone doesn't lie. Someone wrote your name here 27 years ago." Liam's throat felt dry. "How?" "Prophecy, maybe. Or the Wardens kept records of bloodlines long before you were born. Either way, the veil marked you early." He reached into his coat and pulled out a thin metal stylus, tracing a symbol beside the name. The stone pulsed faintly, as if exhaling light. Hami stepped back. "You waking it, Reaper." "That's the idea." The ground shifted. A low vibration rolled through the cairn, stirring dust from the walls. The runes fled one by one, lighting the chamber with a red-gold glow. The spiral of names began to rotate, not physically, but as if the space itself were turning inside out. Liam stumbled. "What's happening?" Kerr's voice was calm, too calm. "The cairn's memory is opening. It's showing us what it remembers." The glow rose until it filled the air with drifting motes. Figures appeared within it, shadow forms of men in old uniforms, each carrying the Stag Skull badge. Wardens of every generation, kneeling around the altar. One lifted a blade and carved the spiral into the slab, cutting until blood filled the grooves. Another poured black sand over it. Their voices blended into a chant that made Liam's ears ring. Then came a shape behind them, tall, faceless, its head bowed. The Hollow Watcher. Liam staggered backward, breath shallow. The illusion flickered, the creature turning slightly toward him though it wasn't truly there. Its voice was a wind inside his skull, blood remembers. You are the echo. The vision shattered. Darkness returned. The air was still again, but colder. Hami stared at him. You saw it too. Liam nodded. It knows my name. Kerr exhaled through his teeth. Then it knows where to find you. They began to pack up, but the tunnel behind them no longer looked the same. The stones seemed to have shifted, closing in. The entrance was narrower, shadows thickening like water. Hami raised the lantern. That wasn't like that before. Kerr's hand went to his shotgun. We are not alone. From deeper in the cairn came a sound, faint, scraping, almost rhythmic. Like claws on stone. Then another. And another. Liam lifted the lantern higher. The light reached the far wall just in time to catch movement, small shapes clinging to the ceiling, eyes burning red in the dark. Hami whispered, Mountain goblins. How in God's name? They followed the scent from Glenmore, Kerr said. The Watcher sent them to guard its name. The creatures began to crawl along the walls, circling. Their bodies were thin, limbs too long, skin mottled grey like granite. Not attacking, not yet, just whispering in some cracked dialect of Gaelic. Kerr raised a flare. When I light this, we run. Straight for the exit. Hami set his jaw. You sure that leg of mine's up for it? No choice, Kerr said. They won't give us a second. He struck the flare. Blue fire filled the chamber. The goblins shrieked, scattering against the walls. Go! They sprinted down the passage, shadows slashing across the walls. Liam could hear the creatures scrambling behind them, claws scraping sparks off the stone. Hami fired backward once, the report deafening in the tunnel, and one of the things tumbled into the dark. Light ahead, the mouth of the cairn. Kerr burst out first, dragging Liam after him. Rain hit their faces, cold, hard, real. Hami followed last, rolling out onto the wet grass. For a heartbeat, everything was quiet. Then the ground beneath them heaved. The cairn shuddered, stones shifting like bones cracking back into place. From the entrance spilled a wave of black mist, thick and heavy, carrying the smell of iron and decay. Kerr swore. It's sealing itself. The mist rose, forming a shape, tall, humanoid, half-solid. A face with no features, only darkness. The Hollow Watcher's echo, born of the cairn's memory. Hami raised his rifle. We can't fight smoke, lad. Then burn it, Kerr said. He tore a second flare from his belt and hurled it into the mist. The fire caught, turning the fog orange, but the shape didn't vanish. It simply shifted, the outline trembling like a mirage. Through the roar of the burning flare, Liam heard it speak again, soft as breath, the 48th walks. The circle begins anew. The voice came from everywhere, from the stones, the air, his own skull. Liam dropped to his knees, clutching his head. Get it out. Kerr grabbed him, shaking. Listen to me. It's not inside you yet. Breathe. Stay with us. Hami fired again, the shot echoing across the moor. The sound seemed to tear the mist apart for a moment, just enough for Liam to gasp and stand. Kerr pointed toward the ridge. Back to the rover. They ran. Behind them, the cairn's light flared once more, red bleeding into the clouds above. By the time they reached the vehicle, the entire field of standing stones was glowing faintly, each monolith humming like a tuning fork. Liam turned to look back just as the glow subsided. In the silence that followed, the wind carried one last whisper from the cairn. He was never meant to close the gate. He was meant to open it. Liam's knees gave out. Hami caught him, dragging him into the car. Kerr started the engine, eyes fixed on the mountains ahead. We are done with ghosts. Next stop's the living, Division Black's archives. He gunned the accelerator. The Land Rover lurched forward, tires spitting mud, as behind them the mist rolled once more over the ancient stones, swallowing the name Liam Macrae in silence. The storm chased them down the valley, a wall of sleet and mist swallowing the road behind. The Land Rover shuddered over frost-heaved tarmac, headlights cutting narrow tunnels through the fog. Kerr drove this time, one hand on the wheel, the other holding a compass that flickered between magnetic north and nowhere at all. Hami sat in back, cleaning his rifle. Liam leaned against the window, eyes half closed, trying not to think about the voice in the can. For hours, no one spoke. Then Kerr broke the silence. Division Black's archive is buried under an old hydro station at Glen Nevis. Officially decommissioned in 1974. Unofficially, it's where they kept the bodies. Hami snorted. You mean records? I mean bodies, Kerr said. Every warden who died guarding the Vale was brought there. For study. Liam turned. You were one of them, weren't you? Kerr's eyes stayed on the road. Almost. He didn't elaborate. By nightfall, the road ended at a chain-link fence half swallowed by snowdrifts. Behind it rose a wall of concrete built into the mountain itself. No lights, no guards, only the wind sighing through broken vents. This it? Hami asked. Kerr nodded. Division Black's back door. They cut through the fence and crossed the frozen yard. Liam's breath came out white and fast, the air stank faintly of ozone. The main hatch was rusted shut. Kerr wedged a crowbar into the seam, grunting until the metal screamed and gave way. Cold air poured out, stale, dry, like the inside of a tomb. After you, Kerr said. They entered a narrow corridor lit by failing emergency lights. Dust lay thick on the floor. Graffiti in Gaelic covered the walls, prayers, warnings, names. Some written in blood long since dried to black. Hami adjusted his torch. Feels like we are walking into a confession. Maybe we are, Kerr said. The corridor opened into a control chamber lined with file cabinets and old monitors. The air hummed faintly with leftover current. A plaque on the wall read, Scottish Natural Heritage, Division Black Warden Program Archive 04, Sigma. Kerr crossed to the main console, brushed off a layer of dust, and began typing. The screen flickered to life, showing a login prompt. Still works? Liam asked. Division Black never truly dies, Kerr muttered. He entered a string of codes from memory. The screen blinked, then opened into a database list marked Restricted, Class Sigma Bloodlines. Hami whistled low. You weren't joking. Kerr scrolled through pages of names, Scottish clans cross-referenced with code names, experiment numbers, dates of death. Beside each name, a symbol, a stag skull branded with a spiral. Liam leaned in. There, Macrae. Kerr clicked. A new file opened, grainy black and white footage from the 1980s. Two scientists in lab coats stood beside a hospital cot where a child slept under flickering light. Electrodes dotted his scalp. The younger scientist spoke to the camera. Subject designation, Macrae, 48. Direct descendant of Warden Prime. Latent veil resonance confirmed. Scheduled for containment under Project Anchor. The other scientist adjusted the child's blanket. The camera caught his face, unmistakable. Hami. Liam's breath caught. That's you. Hami froze, staring at the screen. His voice, when it came, was hollow. I don't remember that. Kerr looked between them. You were Division Black before you were a warden? Hammy rubbed his temples. After Helmand, they told me I volunteered for research. Said it was psychological therapy. I didn't know. Liam stepped back. You experimented on me. No, lad. Hammy reached for him, but Liam recoiled. The footage continued. The child on the bed stirred, eyes opening, bright, unfocused, reflecting the camera light. A voice off-screen said softly, "The gate remembers its own." The monitor crackled, the image distorting. For a moment, the child's face shifted, older, identical to Liam now. Then the file cut to black. The silence that followed was unbearable. Only the soft hum of the generator filled the room. Hammy sat heavily on a chair, staring at his hands. I swear, I didn't know what they were doing. Division Black wiped our memories after each session. We were tools. Liam's heart hammered. They bred me for this. Kerr turned away, jaw tight. Project Anchor. I've seen it before. They used children born near the red line, bloodlines with veil resonance. You weren't a mistake, lad. You were the failsafe. Liam's voice cracked. Failsafe for what? For when the gate opened, Kerr said. You're the living key. The wardens needed a replacement vessel, and they made one. Liam felt cold all over. So I was never free. Even prison was part of it. Kerr said quietly. The black helicopters, your transfer, your release, all Division Black. They've been steering you here since birth. Hammy looked up, eyes wet. Then we stop them. We end this. Kerr gave a bitter laugh. You don't end something that old. You bury it deeper. A sudden noise cut through the air, the whine of machinery powering up. The monitors flickered, shifting from text to a live feed. Cameras across the facility activated one by one, showing empty hallways, then a shape moving through them. Liam stared at the nearest screen. That can't be. It was the Hollow Watcher. The figure filled the corridor, featureless, limbs impossibly long, head grazing the ceiling. Lights dimmed as it passed. The video glitched every few frames, static blooming around its outline. Kerr's hand went to his shotgun. It's here. In the building. Hammy checked his rifle. How? It followed the resonance, Kerr said. The files woke it. The monitors crackled again. This time, a new voice came through, male, composed, British. Agents Macrae, Drummond, Kerr, it said. This is Director Shaw of Division Black. You've opened restricted systems. Stand down and surrender. The experiment is concluding. Kerr spat. Shaw. Thought that bastard was dead. Quite the opposite, the voice replied. You're inside a live protocol site. Your presence here completes the cycle. Thank you for bringing Subject 48 home. The lights flickered out. Darkness swallowed the room. Kerr flipped his torch on, too late. The far wall split open along a hidden seam, revealing an elevator cage lit in dull red. It hummed softly, waiting. Hammy whispered, What's down there? The core, Kerr said. Where they kept the anchors. The voice returned, echoing from the speakers. Please proceed. The veil requires witness. Liam's mark blazed under the bandage, burning like a brand. It wants me to go. Kerr grabbed his shoulder. You don't move unless I say. Understand? The voice continued, calm, almost gentle. Liam Macrae. You are the last blood. Without your consent, the gate cannot stabilize. Step forward, and see what your forebears built for you. Hami lifted his rifle toward the speaker. "You'll get him over my dead body." "That can be arranged," Shaw said. The elevator began to descend without anyone touching it. The floor trembled. Somewhere deep below, machinery awoke, heavy gears turning after decades of silence. Kerr snapped his head toward the corridor. "We are leaving. Now." They ran. The exit ahead glowed faintly, daylight visible through the frost-streaked glass. But halfway down the hall, the lights fled red again, emergency shutters slamming down one by one behind them. Hami shoved Liam forward. "Go." The final shutter dropped. Hami turned back, aiming into the shadows. The fog rolled in, not from outside, but through the vents, cold and slow, carrying whispers in Gaelic. Kerr fired once into the dark. "Keep moving." Liam stumbled through the last door as it sealed. He turned, but Hami was gone. Only the echo of his voice remained, faint and distant. "Don't stop, lad. Finish it." Kerr grabbed Liam by the arm, dragging him toward the rover. Behind them, the mountain rumbled, the old hydro station sinking into itself. A low tone rolled through the air, deep, resonant, the same sound the Watcher made when it chose. Kerr slammed the door and gunned the engine. "He's not dead," he said grimly. "Division Black doesn't kill its assets. They keep them." Liam stared back at the collapsing facility, the red glow pulsing beneath the rock like a heartbeat. "Then we go get him." Kerr's eyes were hard. "But first we finish what they started." The mountain road wound upward through a forest that seemed older than sound. The rover's headlights carved narrow veins of light through the mist. Behind them, the hydro station had gone silent, swallowed by snow and the deep, unnatural quiet of places that had seen too much. Neither man spoke for a long time. Kerr drove in silence, his jaw clenched, eyes locked on the icy track ahead. Liam sat rigid beside him, one hand pressed against the bandage on his palm. The mark still burned faintly, throbbing like a pulse trying to sync with something larger. When he finally spoke, his voice was thin. "He's not dead, is he?" Kerr shook his head. "Division Black doesn't waste good experiments." Liam turned toward the window, watching frost creep along the glass. "He lied to me." "He didn't know," Kerr said. "They scrubbed his memory. He was a soldier, not a scientist." "That doesn't make it easier." "No," Kerr admitted. "It never does." They reached a ridge overlooking the Cairngorm Basin just before dawn. The wind carried flakes of snow that never seemed to land, drifting in slow circles around the car. Below them stretched a sea of fog, dense, alive, glowing faintly from within. At its center rose the black peak of Cairngorm. Red light pulsed under the clouds above it, like veins beneath translucent skin. Kerr killed the engine. "That's where the curse lives." Liam frowned. "You keep saying, curse. What is it, really?" Kerr reached into his coat and pulled out an old field notebook, the same design as Liam's own, only battered, water-stained, and marked number 47. He handed it over. "Read." Liam opened it. The pages were covered in cramped handwriting, diagrams of symbols, sketches of the Watcher, and blood-stained signatures of past wardens. Near the end, a passage was circled in red. "When the veil falters, a vessel must be chosen by bloodline. The anchor inherits the curse of memory, the burden of every warden before them." Liam looked up. "So that's what this mark is. A key and a chain." Kerr nodded. "Every anchor carries the same curse, they remember all who came before. The moment you touch the gate, their memories will pour through you. That's how the veil keeps its knowledge alive. And if I refuse? Then it takes what it wants anyway. The wind howled over the ridge, carrying faint echoes of voices, like prayers whispered into water. They made camp in the ruins of an old watchtower near the ridge. The stones were black with age, the floor covered in snow blown through broken windows. Kerr built a small fire, its light trembling against the walls. Liam stared into it, exhausted. "You've seen this before, haven't you?" Kerr didn't answer at first. Then he unbuttoned his collar and turned slightly, revealing a burn across his back, a spiral mark identical to Liam's, only older, faded. "I carried it once," he said quietly. "Back at Ben McDouey. Thought I could outrun it when I cut the connection. But it doesn't go away. It just waits for the next fool." "So that's why you came back," Liam said. "I wanted to make sure there isn't a next one." Liam looked at the brand, at the scarred skin around it. "Did it hurt?" Kerr gave a humorless smile. "More when I stopped feeling it." He poured a measure of whiskey into 2 tin cups. "To pain," he said. "It's proof we are still alive." They drank. The fire crackled. Outside, the fog shifted closer, pressing against the broken windows like a living tide. Later, when Kerr had fallen asleep upright against the wall, Liam leafed through the notebook again. Between 2 pages, a photograph was tucked, a group of men in old warden uniforms standing beside a cairn. In the front row, young and unscarred, was Hammy. And beside him, holding a small child with storm grey eyes, Liam's mother. He turned the photo over. A single line of writing covered the back. "Anchor secured. Project to continue through Macrae line. Cycle unbroken." Liam's stomach turned. His mother had been part of it. The realization settled like ice in his chest. He looked up. The fog outside had thickened, forming vague shapes that seemed to sway with the rhythm of the wind. Whispering filled the air, soft Gaelic words he didn't know but somehow understood. "Blood remembers. The gate waits." The fire guttered. Kerr woke instantly, hand on his knife. "What is it?" Liam pointed. The fog beyond the window had turned red. Within it, faint outlines moved, human, or close enough. "They are here," Liam said. They stepped outside. The air was colder than before, dense with the metallic tang of the veil. All around them, the mist pulsed faintly like breath. Shapes began to emerge, figures draped in tattered warden coats, their faces half seen through gauze of frost. Not monsters this time, but ghosts. "The fallen," Kerr said quietly. "Every warden who died in service to the Vale." One of the figures stepped forward. Its face flickered between forms, Hamish, then Kerr's, then dozens of strangers. When it spoke, its voice was all of them at once. "The circle closes. The anchor awakens." Liam felt the mark blaze on his palm. The ghosts turned their hollow eyes toward him, and the chorus continued. "One must enter, or the watcher walks." He took a step back. "No. Not yet." The air shimmered. Among the ghosts, a single figure solidified, Hammy, or what remained of him. His eyes glowed faint blue, his voice distant, layered with static. "Lad." Liam froze. "Hammy?" The apparition smiled sadly. "They kept me under the mountain. Division Black. I saw the core. It's alive, Liam. The gate has a heart, and it's beating faster every hour." Kerr's voice was low. "What did they do to you?" "They used me," Hammy said. "My blood's still warden, remember? They're feeding it to the veil to keep it open." Liam stepped forward, reaching out, but his hand passed through the image. "We'll get you out." Hammy's expression darkened. "You can't. They bound me to the heart. My body's gone. Only this remains. He looked at Liam, eyes hollow with something like pity. You're next, Brathair. The Watcher chose you. The curse won't let you run. The wind rose to a howl. The ghosts dissolved into the storm, leaving only Hamish's fading light. His last words came as a whisper. Close it, before I forget who you are. Then he was gone. Snow fell in silence after that. Kerr stared into the empty air where the ghosts had been. Now you know the truth. Liam's voice shook. It's not a curse, it's a chain. They keep binding the same souls, over and over. Kerr said. And the only way to break it is to end the bloodline. Liam looked down at his hand, the burning sigil reflected in the snow. You mean kill myself? I mean choose yourself, Kerr said. Don't let them use you the way they used us. The mountain thundered in the distance. A red glow spread along the clouds, brightening like dawn. Kerr turned toward it. The gate's waking. That's your heartbeat you're hearing in the sky. Liam's mark pulsed once, hard enough to make him flinch. In his mind, he heard the child's voice again, the same one from the cairn, soft and cold, you are the one who opens. He looked toward Cairn Gorm, its summit blazing through the storm. Then we end it there. Kerr nodded slowly. At the top, or not at all. They packed what little they had left. As they started the rover again, the wind carried a single echo from the valley below, Hamish's voice, barely more than air. 48th Warden. Don't forget us. Liam closed his eyes. I won't. The rover's headlights cut into the red snow as they began the climb toward the final summit. The road ahead vanished into fog that glowed from within like molten glass. Behind them, the ghosts of the wardens watched in silence, their pale shapes fading one by one until only darkness remained. Chapter 5, Cairn Gorm, the Red Summit. The climb began before sunrise, though the sun never truly came. The world had turned the color of rust, sky, snow, even breath. Each step of the rover's chains bit into frozen scree, throwing sparks that vanished into the mist. Kerr drove with one gloved hand, the other resting on the shotgun across his knees. The wind outside howled like a living thing, sweeping down the slope in long, low voices that carried fragments of Gaelic prayer. Liam watched the mountain ahead, black stone rimmed in red haze. The light didn't come from above but from within, pulsing up through fissures in the rock like veins of molten glass. It's bleeding, he whispered. Kerr nodded. The Vale's heart's under there somewhere. The closer we get, the less the world remembers itself. Meaning? Meaning, time, gravity, thought, they all start to misbehave. As if to prove it, the compass on the dash spun lazily before snapping north again. They left the vehicle at the last ridge. Beyond it, the road had collapsed into a chasm rimmed with black ice. The rest they'd climb on foot. Kerr slung his pack over one shoulder and tightened the strap on his rifle. Keep your eyes on me. If you lose sight, you'll never find me again. Liam adjusted the lantern harness and followed. The air grew thinner, sharper. The fog pressed close, muffling every sound until their own breathing was the only rhythm left. Halfway up, they passed the remnants of an old outpost, just a rusted radio tower and a cluster of wooden crosses buried in snow. The wood creaked as they passed, as if greeting them. Liam touched one of the crosses. The name carved there was almost worn away, but he could still read the last word, Macrae. He froze. My family was here. Kerr stopped beside him. Wardens all. The Macraes were the first to take the oath, the last to break it. What oath? Kerr met his eyes. To guard the door until it eats them. They climbed in silence after that. The wind had stopped altogether, the air hung dead and heavy. Every few minutes, Liam heard echoes behind them, footsteps too slow to be their own, always one beat late, When he turned, there was nothing. Eventually the path narrowed into a ledge no wider than a man's shoulders. Beneath them yawned the valley, swallowed in red mist. Kerr tested each foothold before moving. "Don't look down." "I wasn't planning to," Liam said, though the tremor in his voice betrayed him. 100 meters later, they reached a stone arch jutting from the cliff face. It looked natural at first, until Liam saw the carved spirals etched into every block. Kerr ran his hand across them. Warden masonry. The entrance to the upper sanctum. He pushed through, and the world changed. Inside the arch, sound returned, but not the same sound. The wind became a low hum, vibrating through bone and air alike. The light dimmed to a soft crimson glow that came from nowhere. The passage opened into a cavern vast enough to swallow cathedrals. Stalactites hung like frozen teeth, dripping water that glowed faintly as it fell. At the center stood a circle of standing stones, each carved with the warden sigil. Liam felt his mark ignite under the bandage. Kerr watched him carefully. "You feel it? It's calling. Let it. Just don't answer yet." They approached the stones. In the air between them shimmered something like heat over asphalt, transparent, rippling, wrong. The veil, thinning. Kerr set down his pack and withdrew a small box wrapped in black cloth. He unrolled it to reveal a device, a lattice of metal and glass, humming softly. "What's that?" Liam asked. "Veil stabilizer. Division Black's one good idea." He adjusted a dial until the hum rose in pitch. "If it holds, it buys us an hour before the gate opens fully." Liam crouched, staring into the shimmer. For a heartbeat he saw shapes within it, an endless field, a sky of eyes, and a girl in white, her mouth sewn shut. He jerked back. "She's here." Kerr frowned. "Who?" "The child from the cairn. She's on the other side." Kerr straightened. "Then we're close." They rested briefly near the stone circle. Kerr lit a small camp lamp, its light barely reaching the cavern walls. "You know," he said, "when I first came up this mountain 16 years ago, I thought closing the veil would save us. Turns out it just resets the clock." Liam looked at him. "So this has happened before?" "Dozens of times. Different wardens, same story. The Watcher chooses, the world forgets, and we start over." "Then why fight it?" "Because one of these times, we might get it right." The lamp flickered. Shadows twisted into familiar shapes, faces of the dead wardens, Hamish among them. Liam spoke softly. "You said the curse could be broken if the bloodline ends." Kerr nodded. "Then maybe that's what it wants me to believe. Maybe the real curse is believing there's only one way out." Kerr studied him for a long moment. "You sound like a warden already." A sudden crack echoed through the cavern. The stabilizer's hum faltered. Kerr sprang to his feet. "The field's shifting, something's pushing from the other side." Liam backed away as the shimmer stretched like a membrane under pressure. Inside it, the girl appeared again, clearer now, her stitched mouth moving as though singing. The air filled with a faint melody, a Gaelic lullaby. "What's she saying?" Liam asked. Kerr's eyes narrowed. "She's counting." "To what?" The melody grew faster, sharper. The standing stones vibrated. One by one, they began to crack, light spilling from the fractures. Kerr grabbed Liam's arm. "Out, now!" They ran, but the tunnel behind them twisted. The arch they'd entered through was gone, replaced by a corridor leading upward, steep and red-lit. "The veil's rearranging space," Kerr shouted. "It wants us to reach the top." They climbed, stumbling over jagged rock. Every surface glowed faintly, veins of light pulsing with the rhythm of a heartbeat, his heartbeat. Liam gasped, "It's inside me. The mountain's moving with my pulse." "Then keep it steady," Kerr growled. "If you lose control, it'll swallow us whole." After what felt like hours but could have been minutes, they emerged onto the open summit. The storm had died. The air was perfectly still. Before them stretched a plateau of black stone, smooth as glass. At its center rose a monolith carved with the spiral sigil, the same one that marked their skin. Around it, faint figures stood motionless, frozen in the red light. Wardens. Dozens of them. Some were centuries old, their armor fused to bone, others still wore modern gear. All faced the monolith, heads bowed, as if praying. Liam whispered, "Are they alive?" Kerr shook his head. "Not anymore. The mountain keeps them. Anchors who failed." As they stepped onto the plateau, the nearest warden's eyes flickered open, glowing with the same red fire that burned in the sky. Its lips moved soundlessly, but Liam heard the words inside his head. "Welcome home, 48th." He stumbled back. The mark on his hand fled white-hot, light bursting through the bandage. The other wardens turned toward him in unison, a sea of hollow faces. Kerr raised his shotgun. "They are not real. Don't listen." But Liam couldn't look away. The mountain pulsed with his heartbeat, and for a moment he felt every voice inside him, 47 souls whispering through his veins. "Reaper," he said, voice barely his own, "I think I remember them." Kerr's eyes hardened. "Then remember this, if you see me start to change, you shoot." Liam met his gaze. "And if it's me?" Kerr chambered around. "Then I'll do the same." The red light above the monolith brightened until the air itself seemed to burn. From within it came the sound of tearing fabric and a single long breath. Kerr muttered, "The gate's opening early." Liam's hand blazed. "It's not the gate, it's me." The wind returned all at once, violent and cold. The monolith cracked down the center, spilling red mist that rose like smoke. In it, the girl appeared again, closer than ever, her stitched mouth splitting slightly as she sang the final line of her song. Kerr aimed his gun. "Don't look at her." But Liam already had. The stitches fell away, and the girl smiled. Her voice filled the air, clear and human at last. "The gate remembers its maker." The summit shook. The world inverted, sky below, earth above, and for a heartbeat Liam saw every version of the mountain at once, every cycle, every warden falling into the same red light. Then it all snapped back. The monolith was gone. Only the sound of the song remained, fading into the wind. Kerr grabbed Liam's shoulder. "You still with me?" Liam nodded weakly. "For now." Kerr looked toward the ridge leading to the true peak. "Then we finish this. The cause above us. Division Black will be there." Liam tightened his grip on the rifle. "And the Watcher?" Kerr's eyes met his. "It already is." They started the final climb, their shadows stretching long across the burning snow, as the mountain whispered in a voice that was almost human. One more turn of the circle. The last climb felt endless. The slope grew steeper with every step, the air thinner until each breath scraped like glass. Above them the sky churned, a slow vortex of crimson light, the color of deep water when it remembers blood. They crested the ridge at dawn. Below, the Highlands lay drowned in fog. Ahead, at the highest point of Cairngorm, stood a ring of scaffolding and floodlights, the remnants of a military outpost. In its center, a concrete platform surrounded by black pylons. Figures moved there, silhouettes in the red light. Division Black. Kerr crouched behind a snow-caked boulder and raised his scope. 3 guards. No insignia, no visible eyes. That means neural filters. They can't see what's really here, Only what Shaw tells them. Liam adjusted the sling of his rifle. And Shaw? He'll be at the core. A tremor rippled underfoot. The pylons around the platform flickered, releasing brief bursts of energy into the mist. For a moment, the fog parted, and Liam saw something vast beneath the ice, a shape moving slowly, coiled around the mountain's heart. "The Watcher," he whispered. Kerr nodded once. "Still dreaming. Let's make sure it stays that way." They descended the ridge through waist-high snow, using the fog for cover. The sound of their breathing merged with the rhythmic hum of the pylons. At the edge of the camp, a dead drone lay half-buried, its rotors twisted. Kerr stripped its battery pack and tossed it aside. Signal jammers still active. Shaw doesn't want interference from the outside world. Does the outside world even exist anymore? Liam asked. Kerr didn't answer. They slipped between two floodlights and ducked into the shadow of a supply tent. Inside were rows of vials, labeled in black ink, Macrae series, active sample. Liam froze. My blood. Kerr scanned the table, syringes, tubing, portable centrifuges. They've been drawing it since the prison transfer. Every test, every checkup, Division Black collected you drop by drop. Liam's stomach turned. For what? To feed the gate, Kerr said grimly. Your blood stabilizes the veil the way salt keeps the sea from freezing. Without it, the Watcher's world collapses. With it, they can open the door safely. He looked at Liam. That's why Shaw let you come this far. He needs you at the threshold. A metallic voice broke through the speakers above the camp. Agents Macrae and Kerr. Welcome home. Kerr's jaw tightened. Shaw. Floodlights flared, washing the camp in blinding red. Figures stepped from the fog, half a dozen soldiers in black armor, rifles raised. Their movements were smooth, too synchronized, like puppets sharing one heartbeat. The voice continued, calm and patient. Lower your weapons. There is no enemy here. Only completion. Kerr muttered, he always did love the sound of his own sermons. He turned to Liam. On my mark, move left. Head for the core. No matter what you see, keep going. What about you? Kerr gave a thin smile. I'll keep them interested. Before Liam could protest, Kerr stood, stepped into the open, and fired once into the air. The guards swung their weapons toward him. Morning, gentlemen, he shouted. Still working for ghosts? Gunfire shattered the silence. Kerr ducked behind a crate, returning fire with brutal precision. Liam sprinted through the chaos, weaving between the pylons. The air vibrated around him, hot and cold at once. Each step brought the mark on his palm to life, burning like a beacon. The platform loomed ahead, a circular slab of concrete etched with concentric runes. In its center stood a transparent cylinder filled with red mist. Inside, a figure turned slowly, tall, indistinct, but unmistakably human. Director Shaw. He wore no mask, only a white coat, its sleeves rolled to reveal wrists veined with the same crimson glow as the pylons. Liam, he said, voice amplified through hidden speakers. You've come far. Your ancestors would be proud. Liam stopped at the edge of the platform, rifle raised. You used me. Used? Shaw smiled faintly. You misunderstand. You were chosen. The Watcher found your blood pure enough to bear its memory. You are what the Warden spent centuries waiting for. I'm not your vessel. You already are. Shaw gestured toward the mark on Liam's hand. That symbol is older than language. It means, door. You were born to open it. Liam's vision blurred. For an instant, he saw the mountain from above, fog swirling like a whirlpool, a wound in the world's skin. At its center, the same spiral. Shaw's voice slid through his thoughts. Let me show you what waits beyond. The cylinder split open with a hiss. Shaw stepped out, his skin flickering between human and something translucent, as though the light beneath were trying to escape. Division Black Sword Control, he said. I seek communion. A shout cut through the wind, Kerr, running toward them, blood streaking his coat. He fired twice, rounds sparking off the platform. Get away from him! Shaw turned lazily. Ah, the prodigal reaper. Still hunting your own shadow? You don't get to speak my name, Kerr growled. You already gave it to us, Shaw replied. Your memories, your pain, they were the foundation of Project Anchor. Kerr froze, realization dawning. Ben McDouey. You orchestrated that slaughter. Shaw inclined his head. We needed trauma to crack the veil. You provided it beautifully. Rage tightened every muscle in Kerr's face. He raised his shotgun, but before he could fire, the ground trembled. The pylons flared simultaneously, their light merging into a column that rose into the sky. The fog tore apart, revealing a vast shape overhead, something enormous coiled in the storm, its surface shifting like liquid stone. The Watcher. Its faceless head tilted downward, and every pylon vibrated with its silent gaze. Shaw spread his arms. Behold the threshold! The gate between remembering and forgetting. One step, Liam, and you can end the cycle. Bring it through. Kerr shouted, Don't listen. He's not offering freedom, he's asking for surrender. Liam's mind flooded with voices, 47 echoes whispering from inside his blood. The ghosts of the wardens, the dead, the lost. Their words overlapped until meaning dissolved into pure pressure. He staggered. I can't. You can, Shaw said softly. Because you already have. Every life before yours made this moment inevitable. The red light poured from the sky, bathing them all. Shaw stepped closer, eyes burning like coals. Be what you were made to be. A gunshot split the air. Shaw jerked back, a bloom of light spilling from his chest instead of blood. Kerr lowered his smoking weapon, breathing hard. I told you, no sermons. Shaw laughed, the sound distorted, breaking into static. His form wavered, dissolving into streaks of red mist that sank into the platform. You cannot kill what is already part of you. The mountain roared. The Watcher's shadow expanded, blotting out the sky. Every light shattered, plunging the world into crimson darkness. Kerr grabbed Liam and dragged him toward the ridge. We have to cut the link before it stabilizes. How? Liam shouted over the wind. Destroy the core. If Shaw's inside it, he's the conduit now. They reached the edge of the platform. The ground cracked, glowing veins spreading outward like lightning. Below, the mist churned, forming shapes, faces, arms, memories, all reaching upward. Kerr handed Liam a wolfsbane charge. Throw it into the breach. Liam hesitated. And you? I'll make sure it detonates. Before Liam could protest, Kerr shoved him toward the ridge. Go. The curse ends here, not with both of us. Another tremor hit, knocking Liam to his knees. The world tilted, the mountain groaning as if alive. He looked back, Kerr standing in the collapsing red light, framed by the storm, a silhouette against eternity. Reaper! Kerr turned once, a grim smile on his face. Tell Hammy I kept my word. He dropped the charge into the fissure. Light swallowed everything. When Liam opened his eyes, he was alone. The platform was gone, reduced to fractured stone. The wind howled across an empty summit. No sign of Kerr, no sign of Shaw, only the faint red glow fading beneath the ice. The mark on his hand had stopped burning. He stood slowly, staring at the horizon where the first true light of morning broke through the fog. For a moment, it seemed like victory. Then he heard it, a heartbeat, slow and steady, echoing from deep within the mountain. The Watcher was still alive. And somewhere beneath the snow, something answered it, with his rhythm. Silence followed the blast. No wind. No sound. Only the mountain's slow breathing, stone shifting under ice, the heartbeat of something buried and not yet done. Liam stood at the edge of the crater where the platform had been. The snow had turned black with ash. Above him, the storm had broken, leaving a hollow sky the color of bruised glass. Reaper, his voice vanished into the emptiness. No answer. Only the whisper of snow settling over broken ground. He sank to his knees. The world smelled of iron and rain. The mark on his hand had cooled to faint blue light, pulsing in time with the mountain beneath him. I stopped it, he whispered. Didn't I? The wind answered, a single word, stretched thin across distance. Almost. He looked up. Across the crater, the air shimmered. A figure formed there, small, pale, barefoot in the snow. The girl in white. Her eyes were sewn shut again, but she smiled as if she could see. Why won't it end? Liam asked. Her voice was a breath. Because endings are gates too. The air thickened. The mountain groaned. A line of light split the ground, running from the crater's center up toward the peak, a wound reopening. The girl tilted her head. The Reaper's fire burned the outer door, not the heart. It still beats, waiting for you. Liam rose slowly. Then show me. She turned and began to walk toward the light, her feet leaving no prints in the snow. Liam followed, his shadow stretching long behind him. With every step, the world dimmed, not darker, but thinner, as though he were walking out of reality and into its memory. They reached a fissure in the stone, wide enough for a man to slip through. Inside, a soft red glow pulsed like the inside of a living thing. This is the gate, she said. Liam hesitated. What's on the other side? The truth you've already lived. The mark on his hand flared, brighter than ever. The wind carried distant echoes, voices, overlapping, pleading and singing and whispering in languages he almost knew. Every warden before me, he murmured. The girl nodded. Waiting to be remembered. He took a breath and stepped inside. At first, there was only light. Then, slowly, shapes emerged, a landscape impossible to describe. The world on the other side was made of reflection and sound, valleys of glass, rivers of ash that sang softly as they moved, a sky filled with eyes that blinked in slow rhythm. At the center of it all, vast and still, stood the Watcher. It was taller than the mountain, its body neither flesh nor shadow but something between, a suggestion of form that shifted with each heartbeat. Where its face should have been, the air rippled, reflecting Liam's own image again and again, stretching into infinity. He whispered, "You are me. And you are us." The voice came from everywhere, layered and patient. "You are the 48th. The door and the key." "Why me?" "Because you remember." The Watcher moved, not walking, but folding space around itself. In an instant it was close enough for him to feel its heat. Within its chest burned a heart of light, beating out of sync with his own. Liam lifted his hand. The mark glowed in answer. For a moment the two rhythms aligned, the mountain's pulse, his own, and the Watcher's, one sound, one breath. "What happens if I close it?" he asked. The Watcher's form flickered. "Then all that is forgotten remains forgotten. The wardens vanish, the veil sleeps, and the world forgets why it was ever afraid. And if I don't? Then the cycle begins again. You open, Another follows. The world remembers, and breaks. He laughed softly. Some choice. There is another, the Watcher said. Balance. Liam frowned. What does that mean? To stay. He looked into its faceless reflection and saw flashes of every warden before him, Hamish, Kerr, the men from the cairn, faces stretching back centuries. All burdened, all lost. He saw the child version of himself in the lab, electrodes on his skull, eyes bright with fear. He saw his mother's face at the cairn, whispering a prayer before turning away. And beneath it all, he saw the truth: the Watcher wasn't a creature or a god. It was memory itself, the accumulation of every fear, every vow, every sacrifice the Wardens had ever made. A mirror too heavy for one world to hold. Someone has to remember, he said. The Watcher inclined its head. Then stay. He understood then, closing the veil didn't mean erasing the Watcher. It meant taking its place, standing at the edge of both worlds, holding the memory so no one else had to. He smiled, almost peaceful. I think I finally get it. He pressed his hand to the Watcher's chest. Light swallowed him whole. Far away, in the real world, the mountain shook once, a deep sound like thunder rolling through stone. Then stillness. At dawn, the storm cleared. The sky turned a pale, human blue. The fog that had haunted the Highlands for centuries drifted apart, dissolving into ordinary cloud. Where the crater had been, there was now only a shallow hollow filled with frozen water, a new loch. Locals would later call it Loch Quimney, the Lake of Memory. At its edge, buried halfway in ice, stood a black field notebook. On its cover, a single mark burned faintly blue, the spiral of the Wardens. Weeks later, in an office deep within what remained of Division Black, a technician sorted recovered data from the Cairngorm collapse. Among the corrupted files, she found one intact video feed, static, then a blurred figure standing in fog, holding a lantern. The figure turned toward the camera. It was Liam. He spoke softly, voice distorted by wind. If you're seeing this, the veil's closed. Don't look for me. Don't build another gate. Let the world forget. He smiled once. Somebody has to stay behind and keep the lights off. The video ended. Years passed. The mountain grew quiet again. Tourists came and went, drawn by the strange, perfect silence of the new loch. Sometimes, in early morning mist, hikers swore they saw a figure standing on the water, tall, faceless, holding a lantern that burned blue. Always still. Always watching. Locals told each other it was just reflection, or fog, or light on ice. But on the coldest nights, when the wind blew down from Cairngorm, a faint voice carried through the pines, calm, distant, familiar. The 48th Watchers. The gate remembers.